Drags that one in. Drops it entering the zone to Buchnevich. Cuts it into the middle. Over to Kyrou. He scores! He's got that touch, and he puts the Blues into a tie. 2-2. 6:31 to go. Third period. Kyrou with goals in 3 straight. Cleared out to center. Broken up terrifically by the long reach of Parayko. Snap to the tape of Buchnevich. Dished ahead to Kyrou. Whoops! Drops it off. And here come the Coyotes, 2-on-1 the other way. Dylan Guenther passes, and it's off the skate of Parayko and in the back of the net. 3:21 to go in the third period. Another blue line turnover picked out of the back of the Blues net.
So we're doing it again, huh? It's the Jordan Kyrou Show here on BK and Ferrario with Alex and T-Bone on BK. We're broadcasting live at the E&B Granite Studios out of the Centene Community Ice Center. Yes, Jordan Kyrou once again was the story of the game. Scores a goal, a hell of a goal, by the way. Amazing
Where's
play
that one-timer on the power play?
Pavel Buchnevich skating through traffic, wins a board battle, and then boom, rifles it over to Jordan Kyrou, who one times it into the back of the net. All right, that's the Jordan Kyrou. That's the Pavel Buchnevich that we've been looking for. Unfortunately, the Jordan Kyrou that we have seen at times, really more so previously in his career than so far this season, is who showed up in the biggest possible moment down the stretch. Alex, the turnover just can't happen. That being said, I know, shocker, BK is going to come to Jordan Kyrou's defense here for a moment. I understand the mindset. I really do. Jordan Kyrou in that moment is thinking to himself, I'm going to go try to make a play. Because Jordan Kyrou's entire career has been about, I'm going to go make a play. Now, part of the maturation process is some of that has to depend on the time of the game, the situation of the game. I likened it before the show today to Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen at times has tried to go into hero mode in the worst possible moments of playoff games, where it's 3rd and 3, you're in field goal range, you're going up against an opponent that's up by 3 points. 2 minutes left in the game. You got to at least get the field goal there. Instead, Josh Allen takes the ball into his own hands and tries to rifle it into a tight spot, and boom, interception. Hero mode goes wrong. Now it's the other team's ball. They've got it under 2 minutes left. Game over. That's what it felt like last night to me with Jordan Kyrou. He's trying to make a play, trying to win it in regulation, and instead, because of the play that he tried to make, they lose in regulation. Alex, what'd you make of it?
Yeah, it's just a play that can't happen. I mean, as blunt as you can ask, the goal that he scored was beautiful. And in that situation, when you're the Blues that have, I don't know at the time that one was scored, I think they had 12 or 13 goals, or 13 shots on goal they had. You look at the situation and are like, we do not deserve to be in a spot where this game is tied. And you get that lucky bounce, that big board win by Booch, and an incredible shot by Jordan Kyrou. But at that moment, and Bobby Plager used to say it all the time, Curbs references, your worst opponent is the clock at that time of the game. Because with 3.5 minutes on the board and you just tied that, you have all of the momentum. You got to understand where you're at. You're a team that has 15 shots on goal. You are playing a Central Division team that you have not beaten yet this season, and you need points. You need to survive right now with all of these injured players. And in that spot, if you're Jordan Kyrou, yes, I understand you want to dangle around guys because you know you have the ability, and you're riding the high of the momentum from scoring a goal and getting Enterprise Center on their feet. It's a boring play, but you have to do it. You dump the puck behind the defenseman on Utah, and you go to the bench and you let the next guys get on the ice. That's the difference between winning a game and losing a game. And right now, you need a point. And so for Jordan Kyrou, it's a learning experience. Am I going to sit here and get pissed off at Jordan Kyrou because he made that play? No, because Jordan Kyrou giveth, Jordan Kyrou taketh away. He scored that goal for you. It's just the maturation process. And what sucks about it is you can only say maturity so many times with a guy who's 25 years old, who's played over 400 or 300 games in the NHL. You got to know it by now. But you're riding a high, and I get it. It's a learning process that the Blues have to kind of get through his head, but that's just one of those moments that cannot happen if you're the Blues.
All right, let's hear from the people that were involved last night, some of the stakeholders. Let's hear first from Steve Ott, Blues assistant coach, who was on the broadcast with Alex, Curbs, and Joey after the game last night. Right after the game came to its conclusion, here's what he had to say about that turnover.
To be honest with you, it's quite plain and simple. It's black and white. It's those type of turnovers costly, and he knows that, and he's feeling that right now. So it's our job to continue to teach puck management, teach games that get into these final 5 minutes that those it's extra crucial to put pucks deep and obviously get a point out of these big games as well. So it's part of maturity of our game, and we got to make sure we keep dialing that part in.
Here's Drew Bannister and Jordan Kyrou back-to-back, their respective answers. These were not literally at the same time, but I think it's good to hear them back-to-back, both of them talking about that turnover as well.
As a team, we have to recognize that we hadn't played well for 55 minutes of the game, and we're in a 2-2 game, and we just have to push that to overtime.
Yeah, I just got to be more direct there, time of the game there, and just got to put that deep. Just, time management there, 3 minutes left in the game. Instead of trying to drop it back, just put it in. That's it. It's on me there.
Alex, it's not the first time we've heard this from him. It's the second time in about a week that we've heard this from Jordan Kyrou. Almost the exact same answer, word for word. And so people that are texting in, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. They're correct. He's got to learn. He's got to be better. No doubt about it. But I thought it was interesting also to hear Robert Thomas on TMA earlier today, who also described what he saw as he was watching that play last night.
You score the shift before, you're feeling great, especially you're going against a team in your division, you're pushing, you want to win the game in regulation. We had all the momentum, and, simply he's cutting across the ice, sees a D-man coming up, and a guy just comes out of his blind spot and picks it off. You're a playmaker. You're supposed to make plays. He's impacted the game, so much in tying that game, and he's feeling good. He's trying to get a win, and it's just an unfortunate play, and then it banks off our guy and in. So it's a tough one, definitely, but things like that are tough to swallow, especially late in the game. But you're really trying to end the game there, and that's his mindset.
I get the perspective. I understand he can't do it. He can't. He's got to be better. Totally. We're all on the same page in that regard. I'm not trying to defend the play. The play can't happen. And moving forward, it has to be something that this now resonates with him. It's happened multiple times. We talked about this before with Zack Bolduc. Just don't make the same mistake multiple times. And that's a rookie. This is Jordan Kyrou, who's now 26 years old. He's been in the league. He should know better. He doesn't know better. Like, we know this. He doesn't know better. And so now you're trying to coach some of that stuff out of him without taking away his instincts, because this is that fine line as a coach. You want Jordan Kyrou to go out there and play free. You want Jordan Kyrou to go out there and play with confidence. But in those situations, you need him to play within himself. You need him to make the smart play. So it's about the situational awareness. I think we're seeing a more well-rounded all-around game for Jordan Kyrou in general. There are still moments where these kinds of decisions, though, creep up. He's got to get better with him. I think what we're going to eventually see, because of these moments, because of what you heard from him last night, because he's now going to optional skates, like, you're seeing some of the maturation play out in real time. It took longer than anybody would have liked, but I think we're starting to see a better version of Jordan Kyrou, even though last night, obviously, a bad moment.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get as upset about it because it's just what's going to happen. And the difference is, in that circumstance, I don't know if Jordan Kyrou's on the ice at that moment of the game. If everybody's healthy, I think you're talking about a Robert Thomas and a Pavel Buchnevich and a Jake Neighbors on the ice there, because that's what Drew Bannister does. He kind of isolates putting these shutdown players on the ice when you're about to win. Matthew Joseph, we saw earlier this season, in one-goal games or tied games, Matthew Joseph is on the ice because you can shut things down. You understand what's taking place. You just unfortunately have to find ways to put that behind you, saying, I've got to win this hockey game. Because here's the thing. You're 2-0 in overtime this season. The Arizona Coyotes, I just did what Curbs did. The Utah Hockey Club has been to overtime 6 times this season, and they're 3-3.
And forget that. You need the point.
You need the point.
Forget anything that could happen in overtime. It's a 50-50 proposition, whatever. Overtime's weird in the NHL. You need the point.
But your opportunity to do what you did in 5-on-5 regulation, if you trying to dangle around a couple of guys to make a play, you have more open ice to do that at 3-on-3, and you have opportunities to cover yourself with mistakes. It's just the learning process. The difference between Ryan O'Reilly and Vladimir Tarasenko when the Blues were winning the Stanley Cup is Tarasenko's a guy that you want out there to try and take the lead or tie the game, but when there's 2 minutes left, Ryan O'Reilly's the guy that's stepping over the boards because he knows the smart plays to make.
And you need both.
You need both.
This is the other thing. I understand people are frustrated by what you saw last night. Guess what? You're in the game because of Jordan Kyrou.
I was just about to say, you don't have that moment to be upset about if not for Kyrou 2 minutes earlier.
Totally. Exactly. You need players like like Jordan Kyrou. You cannot win without his ability to A, create for others, and B, score goals. You have to have that. And so I get it. It is really frustrating when you see the downside of what Jordan Kyrou brings to the table. But, man, we were all celebrating like crazy as he shoots the puck and it goes in the back of the net. And this is sometimes what comes with it. It's not just Jordan Kyrou. Goal scorers in general, it's a fickle beast, and you got to live with some of the downside. But you got to take that specific moment out of his game.
And I will say this, for as frustrating as that moment is and for it being coming in the final, 3 minutes of that hockey game and you're trying to get that point, for the most part, I think Kyron's gotten better at those scenarios. Go back to the first period, In the first period, there's a moment where they get some zone time. I think it leads to a Shen shot in the center of the ice, a high-danger opportunity. Kyrou doesn't make the spectacular dangle move, throw a pass out blindly, and see if it gets to somebody. He dumps it in, they go on the forecheck, and then they get the shot attempt. Doesn't end up going in the net, but there's times throughout games this season that we are seeing him, okay, I'm not going to make the play that I've been thinking about. I'm going to dump it in, we're going to go after it. The frustrating part is the last two big mistakes happen to come when it is in the final third and ends up killing you in the end.
But look at the situation, and that's just the difference. You have to, if you're the guy on the ice, you have to erase the I'm a goal scorer, I'm going to make a play here. There's 2 minutes on the clock, I've got to score, because the Philly game, there's 2 minutes left, and you tried to do the same thing where you tried to skate around a guy in the neutral zone, and he just picked it off. I understand the guy came out of the blind side, but you know what doesn't happen? That blind side player steals the puck if you dump it behind him and go to work.
Yeah.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line from Flight Risk. Guys, I'm totally okay with these mistakes and sorting them out over out this year while we're still in this kind of a rebuild. Better now than when they're in the cup window. 100%. Yeah. This is what this year is for. It's why when eventually we see Dvorsky, I'm not going to be upset with his mistakes. Why when we see Bolduc playing, if he makes a mistake, it is what it is. You live with it. P.O. Joseph, who maybe is a part of this thing long term, if he makes a mistake, you live with it. Hopefully he learns from it. That is what this year is all about. That's what next year is going to be all about for the Cardinals. And we're going to talk about them a little bit coming up here in just a little while. Jesse Rogers, ESPN's Major League Baseball insider, will join us at 11:30. Bill DeWitt III, I thought, had a spectacular interview earlier today, and I don't say that lightly, with TMA. Said some really interesting things, including what he believes the Cardinals have done wrong over the last decade, how they got to where they are today. I thought this was the exact interview that he needed to have, and Cardinals fans need to hear. So we'll hear that coming up in the 12 o'clock hour. We'll hear from you. 314-399-9646. YouTube, youtube.com/101ESPN STL is where you can go for the graveyard chat. I will also be paying off my punishment throughout the day today, so I would highly recommend checking out the YouTube stream. Alex has the dozen eggs. Half of them have been hard-boiled. Half of them have not. I don't know which is which. Those will be cracked over my head over the course of the show today. We're hoping to have some Blues players come along, hopefully Joe Vitale, maybe Jeremy Rutherford. Alex and T-Bone will certainly take their shot at it as well. So lots of fun throughout the day. Today we'll also give you our football pick'em coming up later on this afternoon as well. All of that, plenty more, but coming up next, what did we learn from the Ravens versus the Bengals last night? We'll talk about it next here on 101 ESPN.
4 Coyotes all around, 4 Utes all around the puck, only 2 Blues. Here's Arizona. I give up.
wall-to-wall Blues coverage is right here. 101 ESPN is live from the Centene Community Ice Center. Brought to you by Bud Light and E&B Granite. Bernie Federko's only choice for granite countertops, cabinets, and flooring.
If I hear one more person try to convince me that the Baltimore Ravens are the best team in the NFL, I'm going to lose my damn mind.
Really? Even if it's Kerry Davis?
Well, he can say
Kerry said that the
Say it with
Kansas
your
City
chest to
Chiefs
Kerry.
aren't the best team in the AFC.
I will just say I respectfully disagree with Mr. Davis.
Yeah, of course you say it while you're at
But if anybody else comes after me, I'm going to put you down.
If Mr. Davis or Mr. Rivers say that, I will have a very different opinion on the matter. However, if Stalter says this, if Tim says this,
Marshy says it, I'm coming after you.
damn it, if Martin, who I think I've said 4 words to in my entire life, says this, I'm coming after them. Because this team they're fine. They're fine. They've got a really good offense. They're fun to watch. I love the Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson dynamic. I mean, who doesn't like watching that, right? 2 of the most unique talents at their respective positions. It's awesome to watch them together. I think their receiving core has really come together. I like Zay Flowers. Rashad Bateman is having a better season. Like, the Ravens have come together offensively in a way that is really fun to watch. And yet, I don't trust that team at all. Not one bit. We get to January, you think that team's getting a stop against the Chiefs or the Bills or, hell, the Texans? No, sir. Against the Bengals? I don't trust them at all to defend anybody right now. They could have absolutely lost that game. And you look at some of their other losses on the season, Alex, it's not even just that they lost against Kansas City. This team lost against the Vegas Raiders. This is a team that gave up 38 the last time that they went up against the Cincinnati Bengals. Washington, good team, sure. They gave up 23 against them and then followed it up by giving up 31 against Tampa and then gave up 29 against Cleveland in the first week of Jameis Winston as their starting quarterback. This defense is not good. So what I learned last night, I'm still scared of Cincinnati because I do think if they can get into the tournament, and I'm not convinced at this point they'll be able to, but if they can, that is still a scary proposition going up against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and whenever they get T. Higgins back, scary offense. This Ravens team, even in a win, I learned more that was negative about them last night than was positive. What did you take from that Thursday night football game, Alex?
That I'm not trusting either of these teams to do anything. Like, both offenses, yeah, you know what? They could win a Super Bowl because they're dangerous. Like, watching Jamar Chase just go off in that game, that's scary. That was without T. Higgins, and that offense drove down the field. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, they could win a Super Bowl. But you know what? There's factors on the Baltimore Ravens side that also can't win you a Super Bowl. One is Lamar Jackson because we've seen him fall in the playoffs multiple times. And 2, that defense is not anything scary anymore. They had to waste 2 timeouts in the first half because they couldn't get their defense set up. Like, John Harbaugh, I thought, was going to break his headset on the sideline. And then the Cincinnati Bengals, like, it's awesome that you drove down the field and that you scored that touchdown and you could have got the 2-point conversion. But you shouldn't have let Baltimore drive down the field previously and get a stop. That felt like 2 offenses that were playing fantasy football. And it's fun to watch. That was a lot of fun to watch, especially T-Bone's 55 points in fantasy.
Oh, sorry, Grant.
But on the flip side of it, I'm watching that and saying, man, you're not doing that against Buffalo. You're not doing that against Kansas City.
Nope.
And so I can get excited for it in the regular season. And you know what? Cincinnati probably could get into the playoffs because I've seen a lot of bad teams in the AFC that are playoff teams. But I'm not going to sit here after last night's game and go, one of those teams could win the Super Bowl. No, Chiefs or Bills are way above you in that list.
Yeah, I don't. The Bengals to me aren't making the playoffs. Like, look, their offense
Their
was
path
fun.
is also really difficult.
Yeah, it was fun last night, guys. Their 4 wins this season have all come against 2-win teams. They're playing competitive football against these teams. Don't care. You're not beating them. They have not shown an ability this season to
Lost
beat
to
them.
Kansas City by 1, lost to Washington by 5, lost in overtime against Baltimore, and then last night could have lost in overtime again, but ended up losing in regulation because of the 2-point try. We'll get to that here in just a moment. They're losing these games close, but they're losing.
Yeah.
Eventually, you got to come out on top.
And that's what everybody's excuse is. Oh, man, you lost to Kansas City in the early portion of the game off of a toenail. Like, yeah, but you still lost. Like, at some point, you keep losing games.
Early on in the year, sure. Like, maybe you start 0-3 in one-possession games. If you don't equal that out and get back to 3-3, sorry, you're not a playoff team. And Cincinnati hasn't proven that. But for Baltimore, I'm with you guys. Look, I don't worry so much about their offense. I think they're going to put up points in the postseason. I think Lamar at some point is going to figure out his postseason struggles.
I think they'll put up points. I'm not sure they'll put up 35.
Exactly. If you don't have a defense that can get critical stops in games. And this is why I loved Kansas City last year when they went into the playoffs. Look, I didn't trust Mahomes' weapons. I actually didn't think they were going to win a Super Bowl. But I knew that their defense, if the offense was going to go through a little bit of a struggle, like last night in the first half, the Ravens ran like 22 plays. We're barely on the field in that game. I would trust a Chiefs team if they fell into that same scenario for their defense to keep them in the game. And there's a chance the Bengals are going to run away with that football game because I don't trust Baltimore to get enough stops. And if you can't get stops in the playoffs, you're going home because you're right, BK. Your offense is not going to put up 35 points against all the best teams in the AFC. And then if you even get to the promised land, the Super Bowl, to beat an NFC team.
Somebody on the text line, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line, said, guys, don't forget, they actually did this already against the Buffalo Bills. That game was 35-10. Yeah, it was the regular season, and the regular season is different than the playoffs. The Bengals beat the Chiefs, and Ravens have had a number of regular season games where the Ravens end up beating them, or the Bills end up beating the Chiefs in the regular season. Get to the postseason, it's different sport.
Yep.
Now you have Steve Spagnuolo scheming up for you. Now you have Sean McDermott scheming up for you. What they did, Baltimore, in that game was carry the hell out of the ball with Derrick Henry. Now, it's possible he just goes out and goes crazy against Buffalo again. I'm not counting on him having 24 carries for 200 yards with a long of 87 and a touchdown in that game, though. I'm not expecting that against Buffalo. I think Buffalo's defense is really good right now. They're playing some solid defense. So I'm not anticipating that. I trust the Bills more. I understand if somebody disagrees with me, that's fine. But if you disagree with me, you're saying that you trust that defense for Baltimore to continue to get better, when last night, I don't know what the update's going to be on Kyle Hamilton, but their best defensive player, one of the only guys that I trust on that side of the ball, potentially is going to be out for the foreseeable future. So Baltimore's good. I'm not trying to take away the fact that they are a good team and one of the top 3 to 4 in the AFC, one of the top 6 or 7 probably in the NFL, and their quarterback and running back is the best duo in the league. I just don't trust their defense, and eventually you've got to be able to get stops. I don't think that they can. All right, last thing I wanted to get to here before we get to Jesse Rogers of ESPN.com. He's going to join us on the other side to talk about seemingly every team in Major League Baseball peeling back their revenue and their payroll going into next year. What is that going to mean for this year's offseason? We'll talk to Jesse Rogers about that in a minute. We have reached a critical mass of teams that are in the spot the Bengals were at last night. Bengals are down by 1, 30 seconds to go, and they have a decision to make. Do we go for 2, potentially win this in regulation, or do we kick the PAT, give ourselves a chance in overtime, see what happens there? Alex, to me, I think there are very few scenarios where I'm going to kick the extra point there. And the reason why is because I just trust my offense for 3 yards to try to win the game there, more than I trust potentially going to overtime and betting on defense getting a stop. By the way, there were still 30 seconds last night, so your defense also has to get a stop against Lamar Jackson if you kick the extra point. Get a stop there potentially twice against Lamar, and then also have another drive where if you get the ball first in overtime, you got to score a touchdown there to be able to win it. And if you get the ball second in overtime, you have to at least kick a field goal. So it just becomes really difficult for me to see how those odds are better than me picking up 3 yards for this 2-point try. Do you guys see it differently?
I don't. I feel like you have to feel the game as a coach, because if you're confident that your defense has been giving the other side fits throughout the game and you're confident they could do that one more time, then take your shot with it. But I personally go off of the confidence meter that when you do what Cincinnati did, where you had 90 seconds on the clock and you drove all the way down the field, Jamar Chase was in beast mode, you go for it, and there's no thinking. And I loved it. The moment Joe Burrow...
the play call.
No, hated the play call.
Yeah,
but
I agree with that.
Loved the moment that Joe Burrow threw that touchdown. He looked up and went, I'm going for 2. Yep. There's no hesitating with it, because the moment you hesitate, you're not going to follow through on it. So I like the confidence. I like the aggressiveness. But I do feel like there is a situation that you have to feel the game out, because if all night that offense has been scuffling and it's 17-17, I'm just going to go to overtime and take my chances my offense can do that.
The reason I wouldn't, though, is because at that point, you're telling me that you trust your offense. If it has been scuffling all day, you trust your offense to go on another sustained drive. I trust them more to get 3 yards. It's easier, in my opinion at least, to get the 3 yards than it would be to make another scoring drive if my offense is struggling. If my offense is succeeding, well, then I just trust them to get the 3 yards. So it's just hard for me to envision a scenario where I wouldn't be going for 2 in that spot. T-Bone, I know you disagree with that as well, a bit.
Yeah, to an extent. I would never have it just be predetermined of, hey, we got it within 1, boom, we're going for it, 2 points there. I think it is game flow. And that's why I think, like, Dan Campbell hurts himself. Like, he killed himself in the playoffs, I thought. And sometimes I love the aggressive nature. To me, sometimes it's overkill. And in that scenario last night, I thought it was the right call. Your defense can't get a stop. Your offense is moving the ball. But more importantly, your defense can't get a stop. So my thought process was, Lamar's probably going to win this in overtime if he does end up getting the football. Hell, he probably ends up winning the game if he gets the ball no matter what. So I like the idea of going for 2. But to, like, your point, Alex, if my defense is playing well, and even if my offense, like, if the Bengals offense had played pretty well for, like, just a quarter, and then you end up, your defense has played well all night, I'm kicking the PAT. Because I think that 3 yards, in theory, that sounds easy. And compared to, like, going a full 90 yards, sure, it is easier on paper to do that. 3 yards, because you see how clustered it is there. You're not running the ball. Nobody runs the ball in that 2-point attempt because they're afraid they're going to get stuffed up the middle. So what's everybody do? They go to throw the ball. There's less space to move with your wide receivers and tight ends. It's where it gets that huge cluster as we saw last night. And look, they missed some big calls in that final play.
Absolutely.
But also, it's hard to get in the end zone by throwing the ball from that short a distance. So there are times where I think it is better set to just take your chances on giving the ball back after you kick the PAT and potentially go into overtime for a 50-50 coin toss. Last night was not one of those, though.
You mentioned the one time where I wouldn't go for 2, and that's what Dan Campbell did last year against Dallas, where he had the 10-yard penalty and still went for 2 from 13 yards out.
That was a little wild.
At that point, I'm out. At that point, I'm kicking the PAT. He's T-Bone, that's Alex, I'm BK. Grant Francis back in the studio for us today. We are broadcasting live at the E&B Granite Studios out of the Centene Community Ice Center, and coming up next, Jesse Rogers will join us. He's ESPN's Major League Baseball insider. He just finished up with the GM meetings. What did he learn there? What did he learn about the Cardinals plans? We'll ask him next here on 101 ESPN.
Grant Francis here with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Blues were trying to go for 3 wins in a row last night, but they fell to Utah 4-2 as they fall to 0-3 against Central Division opponents. And after Jordan Kyrou tied the game in the third period at 2, just about 3 minutes later, a costly turnover by number 25 ended up being the game-winning goal for Utah as the Blues lose 4-2. They'll try to rebound tomorrow as they wrap up the homestand here in St. Louis as they welcome in the Washington Capitals. Pregame will be at 5 o'clock and puck drop at 6 here on your home for the Blues 101 ESPN. And then on Sunday, we'll have an NFL football Sunday for you. Commanders and Steelers will get us kicked off at 11 o'clock. Will be pregame. Cardinals and Jets will continue at 3:25, and then Texans and Lions for Sunday Night Football at 7:20. I'm Grant Francis. The Sports Center update's been driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Major League Baseball general managers meetings down in San Antonio this year were basically the unofficial kickoff of the offseason. With Alex Ferrario and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Brandon Kiley. Cardinals made some news down there. Wilson Contreras is going to be moving to first base. And the first that I saw to report that news was Jesse Rogers of ESPN.com. He joins us regularly here on BK and Ferrario. We always appreciate his time. He joins us via the Callier and Thompson hotline. Jesse, appreciate the time as always, man. Let's start with that, the move of Wilson Contreras to first base. What was your reaction when you heard that for the first time, and how are you feeling about it today?
I mean, not completely shocked. I think it's sort of killing a couple birds with one stone, sort of taking advantage of the situation at hand, giving Ivan Herrera more time behind the plate, filling in where Goldschmidt's leaving now with Contreras at first. We know that Wilson behind the plate wasn't exactly the perfect match they thought maybe when they signed him, right? It just didn't go as smooth as they wanted. So I think it's just a bunch of different factors that have led them to this point. And if he wanted to keep catching, they would have, traded him or cleared it with him and then traded him. So that's kind of how I look at it. I'm not completely shocked by it, especially with how the Cardinals' other catchers did last year when they were in there.
Jesse, we talked about this a couple of days ago, but when Wilson Contreras signed, there was a lot of pushback of like, what are the Cardinals doing? Now that he's moved to first base, do you view that Cardinals signing as a failure?
Failure is a strong word. I think the plan didn't work out the way they thought. And it's just not about Contreras. I mean, look, just last year, Goalie and Arenado didn't have their best years, only a couple years removed from finishing whatever it was, second and third, or first and second and third in the MVP. So I think the whole plan didn't work, which included Contreras behind the plate for 5 years. So I'd say it that way.
Jesse Rogers, our guest here on 101 ESPN. Jesse, what else are you hearing on the Cardinals in terms of their plans for the offseason? It's been reported locally that Contreras wants to stay, Sonny Gray would like to stay. There was a report today from Derek Gould that it sounds like Nolan Arenado, Miles Michaelis, Steven Matz might be on the way out depending on what the offers are there. Ryan Helsley, it seems like it's up in the air. What are you hearing on those things?
I think anything is possible with them. I know that's a little bit of a cop-out. We were early in the offseason. Well, here's my point. In terms of any of them could be traded. I don't think all of them are staying. I think this is the first time in a while we're seeing, as they've sort of forecasted, the Cardinals in a retool with Mo handing it off to Chaim Bloom. So, look, 3 of those guys have no trade clauses, but it does sound like Nolan Arenado would probably waive it to go to a contender. Maybe at the end of the day, Sonny Gray will. It does sound like Wilson Contreras has already signed up for this first base thing, but I think everybody else is a possibility, and I'd put Ryan Helsley at the top of that list. Now, you can get more for a closer in July when a contender thinks that's the final piece of the puzzle. But it wouldn't shock me if they traded him this offseason as well. He's coming off an incredible year. You'd be trading him at his peak. You never know what the first half is going to look like with a team that isn't as good as maybe even last year. So, and Helsley can't be any better than he was last year. So I would absolutely look to him as a huge trade candidate. I'd be shocked if he's on this team, come August, let alone maybe even March or April. So that's one guy for sure. Because if you're in a retool, a closer is basically the last thing you need, where it is a very important thing for a lot of other contenders that don't have that position filled. So he's one guy. For all we know, Fetty could be on the move. Just think of these guys that were sort of key to the last couple of years, and now all of a sudden the Cardinals in a little bit of a retool, they're not as important. So I would not be shocked by anybody that's traded on that team. I really would not be.
Jesse, as a follow-up on your Arenado thing where you said he might be open to waiving his no-trade clause, it feels like there's a lot of teams out there that are not trying to add significant salary this offseason. There was another report earlier today that the Giants apparently are trying to kind of pull back where they're at payroll-wise. Who are some of the teams that you think could even be interested in Arenado, given what his salary is and given what his offensive struggles have been in recent seasons?
It's the big boys. That's the bottom line. It's the Dodgers. It's the Yankees. I think there's a lot of teams that still think he has something left in him, and just things kind of went south in St. Louis as an organization, and he followed suit a little bit. So I think the big boys would be interested. We know the Dodgers had eyes on him in the past. So I don't doubt there's a market for him. Would St. Louis have to eat some money? Would they have to get creative? Any of that's possible. But I think people still view Arenado, certainly with a little bit more game left than Paul Goldschmidt.
Jesse, with a lot of these teams now making it known that, look, we're going to be cutting back some of our payroll and we're going to be looking at our roster internally, who's going to be doing all of the bidding on these free agents this offseason?
I just mentioned the big boys, right? Look, the Dodgers have a ton of money. And this will be interesting. If the Dodgers end up with, Juan Soto and whoever else they want, people are going to start being like, wait a minute, maybe we should have a salary cap. The Dodgers could be the tipping point to something leading into the next CBA. I truly believe that, because they are making so much money off their local TV deal. Now they're making money off of Ohtani being on that team. That's going to turn out to be a money-making proposition that if they keep gobbling up the stars in this game, we're all going to be like, what is going on here? The Green Bay Packers can compete with anybody for a star player. That is not the case in a lot of markets in baseball. I'm not telling you anything you guys don't know, but it's getting worse and worse when you consider the Dodgers are even dwarfing teams like the Yankees and the Phillies, who are usually pretty well off. So let's start with the Dodgers to answer your question, but I still think the Yankees have money to spend. Obviously, the Mets have money to spend. Steve Cohen is going to get back into the game now that Verlander and Scherzer are off the books. So there's still the elites out there that will spend money, but it's the mid-tier and lower-tier teams that are still going to be caught in that sort of vortex where they just can't compete with the Dodgers of the world.
Jesse, did you hear anything that surprised you at GM meetings, whether it was a player that might be made available this offseason that you previously hadn't considered, a team that's maybe going to make more splash in free agency, anything that caught you off guard and surprised you at all at the GM meetings?
I'd say not shocked by some of the things I heard, but, for example, Dave Dombrowski is not going to just double down with the same team. Even though they have a really good team and they happen to lose in the playoffs, that's a best of 5 situation. No, he is going to tweak and make some changes. So Philly is not going to just run it back. So I thought that was interesting to hear. I think Garrett Crochet is gone, and the fact that on day one of the meetings, Chris Getz basically said that, I thought was interesting. He's not going to slow play this thing. He's going to move them as soon as he hears the right deal. Now, that probably is going to happen at the winter meetings at the earliest. So I thought that was interesting, just being so open and honest about that. Again, not shocking, but to hear that on day one, and teams are going to line up. He's got 2 years of team control. He's a lefty. He's still young, not a lot of innings on his arm, and he's fully stretched out. So I think there's going to be a nice bidding war in terms of assets for Garrett Crochet. So those were a couple things I thought were interesting. And just to hear, to be honest, to bring it full circle, Mozeliak continue to mention this new era of Cardinals, baseball in terms of updating all their processes and putting money into the things they do behind the scenes more than payroll, taking the step back that the Cardinals are going to do over the next year or so, I think is still very interesting and somewhat surprising considering, as Mozeliak said, it's been a great run for you guys down there. But all good runs come to an end, I suppose. And so we're going to see a new era of baseball in St. Louis shortly.
Jesse Rogers is our guest for just another minute or so here on 101 ESPN. Appreciate his time as always. You can read his work where he did recap some of the things that he learned at the GM meetings over at ESPN.com. Follow him on Twitter at Jesse Rogers ESPN. Jesse, you mentioned Philly potentially not coming back with the same club. There's no chance they're interested in Nolan Arenado, is there?
I haven't heard anything. I think they probably want to improve some of their outfield production. Alec Boehm had a great year last year, so they'd really have to move things around. I think they're pretty good around the infield. You know, Turner, Stott, Boehm, Harper. I think they want to improve their outfield. So,
Gotcha.
And look, they don't have an opening at DH with Schwarber. So, yeah, I think it's an outfielder they're looking for. I think they'd be interested in Luis Robert, but they really want to buy low on him, and the Sox want to wait until he sort of has a better half and a healthier first half and then maybe trade him. I think Philly's interested in the outfield. The other team, as I start thinking about your last question, is Detroit. Detroit is going to be very interesting moving forward. I have a lot of people in the business tell me they're a sleeping giant. They have a fan base that will show up. They have an owner that we think will spend. His father spent, and I wrote this today at ESPN.com, and they really fast-forwarded their rebuild by making the playoffs. So, and I thought it was really interesting. Scott Harris, their president, mentioned, look, we don't really have a budget. We kind of just want to get better. And that was interesting because most teams do have a budget. So whether he was being truthful or not.
About it, Jesse.
Yeah, but we're right. Being truthful or not, I do think the Tigers are kind of this interesting X factor out there in a division they could really dwarf monetarily if Ilitch spends the way his dad did, if Chris Ilitch spends the way his dad did Mike. So anyway, that's another team to watch as well. I really think Arenado ends up on one of those big boys if he gets traded. You know, I keep saying that. Like, a team that can withstand the salary, a team where he fits in and doesn't have to be the man, which he kind of was in St. Louis with Goalie. So I think he's a complementary piece on one of these, Dodgers or Yankee teams.
Couldn't agree more. That's what we've been saying. Dodgers, Yankees. If Houston ends up missing out on Bregman, if he ends up going elsewhere, it doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. But if he did, maybe they would make some sense. That's kind of our stance on it as well. Hey, Jesse, appreciate the time as always, man. Thanks for giving us a little bit of time today. Hopefully we'll talk with you again soon as the Cardinals start to make some moves this offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember, it is still very early. Everybody's, we want everything to move fast. It's just, I mean, the GM meetings were dominated by like hirings, like front office staff, coaching staff, like behind-the-scenes stuff, as much as trade talk and free agency. I mean, we've got a long way to go, and still the winter meetings, of course, next month. So it's going to be a while, guys.
I appreciate the time. That's Jesse Rogers. He'll be writing over at ESPN.com. Regardless of if the moves are happening right now or not, Jesse Rogers has all of the latest intel at ESPN.com. Appreciate his time as always. Alex, I think he nailed it. He said what we've been saying all along, like, there's a limited number of suitors that can take on the amount of money that Nolan Arenado makes. Mm-hmm. There's a limited amount of suitors that make sense for Nolan Arenado where he's going to want to go there because they're contenders. LA makes sense with the Dodgers. Both New York teams potentially make sense depending on what they do. They've got a young third baseman that's very good. If there's a position change in there, potentially whatever. Houston makes some sense because of Bregman potentially exiting stage left. I don't see that, but if it does, cool. That's another spot that opens up. He brought up Detroit. Maybe there's something there. There's just a very limited number of teams.
I don't know if Nolan Arenado's the Detroit, Michigan kind of guy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful up there.
I think it's the Dodgers or bust. I mean, I don't know much about the Yankees, but not that I don't know much about the Yankees, but I don't know much about the player side of the Yankees. But Nolan Arenado doesn't seem the type of guy that'd be willing to shave his beard to go play for the New York Yankees. And I know that sounds so minimum, but he decides where he wants to go. Like, Greg Wyshynski gave us the great quote a couple of years ago when we were speculating of Gabe Landeskog, and he said, "Where's his ish at?" Because that's where he's going to stay. And if the Cardinals approach him and say, "Look, man, we're going in a different direction. We don't think you fit into our timeline. Where do you want to go?" If I'm Arenado, I want to go to the Dodgers. Well, we can't get the Dodgers done. Where else do you want to go? Nowhere. I'm going to stay here in St. Louis. My family's here. My kids are here. You send me there, or I'm going to stay here.
I also just can't see him wanting to go to New York. It doesn't make sense. He doesn't want the pressure of St. Louis.
Oh, yeah, and you get the pressure,
You go to New
especially
York?
on a team that loses Soto and Judge isn't performing.
Yeah, good luck. I don't think that's the best fit for him. Now, if he wants to go there, so be it. More power to him. But I don't think that's going to be the greatest fit. I think the Dodgers make all the sense in the world. It's going back home. He can be a complimentary piece there. He's going to play great defense. They value that there. There's not the same pressures. It's important to win there, don't get me wrong. But the pressure of the day-to-day, the way that every play is broken down is not the same in L.A. versus what it is in New York with their media. So I think it just makes more sense. All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Coming up next, time for Ask Us Anything Sports or Otherwise Within Reason here on 101 ESPN.
maybe. It's BK and Ferrario's questions and answers on 101 ESPN.
It's time for Ask Us Anything. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service tax line to get involved in the show. Coming up in just a little bit, Bill DeWitt III,
The junior.
was on with TMA earlier today. We'll let you hear some of what he had to say. I thought it was one of the best interviews that I've heard from somebody with real authority within the Cardinals in a really long time. He was open, honest, candid, said all the things I think you will want to hear as a Cardinals fan. So stay tuned for that. But right now, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show for Ask Us Anything, sports or otherwise. Guys, Juicy Booch is back on the wing today. What'd you think?
I did. I threw a couple of confetti guns off in here during the commercial break, and we celebrated. It's what you need to do. You aren't scoring goals. With the exception of Jordan Kyrou, your third and fourth lines are the ones that are scoring for you. Last night, Dylan Holloway, Jake Neighbors, Brandon Saad, Pavel Buchnevich combined for 2 shots on goal. It can't happen anymore. And it was kind of a quote that went under the radar last night. Lou reminded me of it before we went on the air. Like, Booch just asked about the offense generating it being in the middle, and he's like, I'm just kind of floating around out there. You need Pavel Buchnevich's offense. And I don't know why it took this long. I understand they were trying to commit to it. My hope now is that if they were trying to commit to it and it didn't work, now you're committing to putting him back on the wing and you just let your centers work themselves out. Is it pretty having Shen, Holloway, Sundqvist, and Foxit on the middle? Absolutely not. But I need my 40-goal scorer in Jordan Kyrou and my 35 to 40-goal scorer Pavel Buchnevich, and then everything else will figure it out.
Just makes too much sense to do it. You know, we've been talking about all year long. He just doesn't look comfortable. And, like, early in the year, he was putting up the points. He had a couple goals. But when you look back at those games, he was on the wing when he did that. You know, that was when they were juggling up the lines like they did late last night looking for offense. And at that time, they were going with their Booch, Thomas, Kyrou line. So, yeah, he's not good at faceoffs. He's at 31% this season. So you can't continue to do that if you're the St. Louis Blues. So it makes a ton of sense to end up having him be pushed out to the wing.
All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line from the 636. Guys, can you explain why people think toasted Ravs are the best food on earth and how it beat barbecue as the state's most popular food?
Because it is the best food in the entire world. What are you talking about? It's ravioli toasted.
No.
I think it's fine.
I think it's really good.
I think it's good
You guys are crazy.
Good appetizer, and that's all I'm willing to say about it.
You guys are crazy.
Amen.
I think it is an okay food, and it's almost never going to be the reason why I go somewhere.
I would agree with that.
If there's a restaurant that specializes in barbecue, I will go there for it. If there's a place that specializes in toasted Ravs, I will go there for the other stuff and have the toasted Ravs as part of the experience. So that's why.
You guys just aren't having the right toasted raviolis, then. That's just the problem.
Have you really been to a place where you're like, man, that's such a good toasted Rav, I have to go there just for that?
There's been a couple of places. Regazi's on the Hill has incredible toasted ravioli. Oh, they're good.
No, they are. They're really good, but it's a ravioli that's been fried.
Ferraro's is so freaking good, too. Oh, man. Yeah.
Is it the sauce for you or the toasted Rav for you?
It's the toasted Rav.
Okay.
Some of it's the meat, how you season it. Some of it's making sure you toast it the right way. You got to have fresh
enough fillings. Too many places have too much breading, not enough filling.
You got to have the right Parmesan cheese. If it's not authentic Parmesan cheese and it's that, rubber mat Parmesan cheese, it's not going to be good. You just got to get the right stuff. Don't be going to get fast food, T-Ravs. You got to get the real stuff.
I don't know if I've ever talked to anybody around St. Louis. Now, granted, maybe it's because I'm the one that would vote for barbecue in this situation, but would say, hey, why'd you go to this restaurant for toasted Ravs? You ask them, why do you go? What are you looking for in St. Louis? Oh, barbecue. Where are you going? Poppies or...
Did you say Poppies?
Did you say Poppies?
What did I mean to say?
Not Poppies.
Yikes. I'm uncomfortable. Do you call people
Pappy
a lot?
No, the reason I just said that because I was watching Seinfeld last night, and Poppy's the guy's name, and that was
Poppy
in the episode.
is a little bit sloppy, though.
Yeah.
All right. Coming up next, sounds like we're going to be joined by a Blue.
Yeah, I believe Zack Bolduc is going to be headed down in about 5 to 10 minutes. He's going to stop by, join us, and we'll surprise him with smashing it. You see how BK's danced around this egg thing in the first hour?
I know.
He danced around it. No more.
You look clean.
Now you get 2 eggs per segment from the 12 o'clock hour on.
All right, so coming up next, we'll talk to Zack Bolduc for a moment, and then he'll smash a couple of eggs over my head.
Yeah.
YouTube.com/101 ESPN STL is the place where you can go to be able to watch it all live. That's here on BK and Ferrario.
Wall-to-wall Blues coverage is right here. 101 ESPN is live from the Centene Community Ice Center. Brought to you by Bud Light and E&B Granite. Bernie Federko's only choice for granite countertops, cabinets, and flooring.
Alex Ferrario, I'm Brandon Kiley. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Zack Bolduc, Blues forward, is going to join us coming up here in just a moment on 101 ESPN. We're broadcasting live at the E&B Granite Studios out of the Centene Community Ice Center.
I just thought of something so the people that can't see because it's on camera, there is a big tarp on the ground. Like, the camera is set up. There's a big tarp on the ground.
It smells like hard-boiled eggs.
It smells like hard-boiled eggs in here. I can only imagine what people think when they walk in and look. Like, I walked in today because T-Bone had the tarp laid out. I walked in and I go, it looks like a crime scene in here.
It does.
It's like CSI.
It's also what it feels like. I feel like I'm watching my own death on our show, so that's good.
Well, you kind of are, so that's the good part about all of this.
Being bad at picking football games is not a fun thing to happen.
You'll figure it out.
One of these days, hopefully, I will be better. We'll give you our pick 'em coming up here in about 10 minutes on the show today. Fingers crossed. This one goes better than last week did when I was 1-2 and only got 2 points. I'm once again in last place.
I just need you to lose.
At some point, this is going to change.
Yeah.
We now have Zack Bolduc, Blues forward, joining us here in studio on the show. He's going to help us out with our punishment. He's also going to talk to us a little bit about how the season's going. Zack, how you doing, man? Good to see you again.
Good to see you guys.
Zack, were you a little confused when you walked in and saw just tarp laying on the ground in here?
Yeah, I was kind of scared a little bit.
So, BK, we do a pick-em challenge every year where we just pick NFL games, we go with lines, and we see who loses, and we come up with punishments. And so we were like, well, might as well smash some eggs on his head. This guy's terrible at picking football games. So
I get punished like every month.
Yeah.
It's not good. Yeah. It goes poorly for me. So we'll have that here in just a little bit. Zack, how do you feel like the season's gone for you so far, man?
I think it's going pretty good. I mean, I think I'm trying to get comfortable, get more confident with the puck, and trying to help the team to win some games. And I think we've been playing good hockey lately. I think last night wasn't our best game, but I think we're moving forward as a team.
And Zack, if you pull that just a little bit closer to your mouth, just so people can hear you a little better, no problem. Appreciate you doing that. When you look at the way that you're playing up here compared to the minutes that you get whenever you were down in the AHL, how much different is that for you? If you play, it's 17, 18 minutes in the AA versus 9, 10 minutes at the NHL level, what are some of the differences? How do you change your game depending on the playing time, if at all?
Well, I don't think I'm trying to change my game. I think you got to try to keep your play, the way you play, you got to keep it with you. But for sure, it's different. Like when you're playing 17 compared to 9 minutes. But you try to stay involved in the game, try to be there, try to cheer for your teammate, and try to be a good teammate. And every time you're going on the ice, I'm trying to help the team and show the coaching staff that I can help the team.
Well, what's been the difference for you personally, Zack? Because last year you came up in the middle of the season, you start in the AHL, and it's already in the thick of things, so you can kind of just jump right in. You're in a playoff race. But this was a fresh season. This was out of training camp, through preseason, and you start the year with the Blues. What's the difference been like for you?
Definitely more comfortable being around the guys. I mean, a lot of team dinner and a lot of time with the teammates. So just to build the chemistry, the relationship with my teammates, I think that's probably the biggest difference from last year.
It feels like you're seeing that come together on the ice too. I mean, you see like after a play is done, everybody's coming together, whether it's a scrum or making sure like if somebody's in the crease with Bennington in there, Ryan Suter, I've seen this a few different times where he back checks a guy out of it. Is that something you guys consciously are putting an effort into? Tell us a little bit about how that comes together.
Yeah, well, we try to stick for one another. I think that's what good team does, and we have such a great group here, and you don't want your teammate or even your goalies to get hurt, so you try to protect them. So I think that's the way to stick as a team, and last night was a great example with P.O. and the hit on Torpo.
So on the offensive side for you personally, Zack, you talk about just kind of finding different ways to impact the game throughout 9 minutes. A lot has been talked about with juggling of lines and trying to find the right chemistry early on. Has it felt a little bit more normal for you throughout each game to finding different spaces out on the ice to generate that offensive chances, or is it feel a little bit more tightened compared to what it was last year?
Yeah, for sure. It's there's conversation that I had with the coaching staff, and I feel like there's less time, less space on the ice, but I think try to do some video and try to find the open space on the ice and try to, for sure, the chemistry with your teammates is a big part of it. I think if you know where your teammates going, then they're gonna know where you are. So, but I think the game is pretty fast. Guys are strong. Guys are, like I said, are fast. So you gotta be smart and try to be one play ahead.
Zach, and Zack Bolduc's joining us in studio here for just another couple of minutes on BK and Ferrario. There have been a couple of games this year where you've been out of the lineup and you're in the press box. When that happens, what are you trying to take from that? Because I would imagine you're trying to take something from every game, whether you're down on the ice or you're up in the press box. What do you take from those experiences?
Well, it's a different point of view when you're up there, so you try to see things that you don't see when you're on the bench, and try to come up with some question or just to make sure everything's clear, and either on the system or on puck decision. So you try, like I said, try to learn because the point of view is so different than on the bench. So and the second you got an opportunity to come in the lineup, you gotta step in and prove them that you can help the team to win some games.
So final one for me, Zach, and I'm just curious, from last year's team to this year's team, do you notice the speed out on the ice with this year's team?
Yeah, for sure. We're a team that's pretty fast. I mean, a lot of speed, a lot of character too. I think that's one thing that really showed through the 10-12 first game. But we got a lot of speed, and it's fun to be part of this group.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Zach, are you good with being a part of our punishment? You'll crack a couple of eggs over our head. I don't know if they talked to you about that or not.
I'll look it up.
All right, so what we're going to do here, I'm going to go on the other side of this.
You and Zach go over there.
And you'll come over there with me. We'll get a couple of eggs out for you. I'm going to have to take off, as you could probably imagine, my headset.
Just
so
keep
Alex is a play-by-play man by nature. He will give the radio side of things, the play-by-play of what's going on. I'm imagining you'll probably hear me scream as an egg gets smashed over my head by a professional hockey player. And then if you want to check it out on YouTube, you can do that as well. YouTube.com/101ESPN.
Going over there. So I hard-boiled these last night just to make sure they were good and set. These smell rank. So we're going to go egg roulette here. Zach, come on over. I'm going to just open this bad boy up. We'll let you do two of them, Zach. So I'm just going to let you pick your poison. Whichever egg you want to do. Yeah, smart to take your wedding ring off. Take two of them. Yep, take two of them. All right, so get up there in front of that camera. Back up a little bit. All right, I'd say we go one at a time here, Zach, and don't be afraid to use blunt force trauma to the head. Just smash right on top of it whenever you're ready. So let's go. Egg number one for BK sucking at his picks. Oh, yeah, there it was. We get the first one, which was a raw one. Next one up. Boom! Is that the hard-boiled one? Oh, yeah. There you go, Zach. The 2 for 2 for Zack Bolduc. He gets a hard boil and a raw one. That is fantastic. And guess what, BK? Because you suck at your picks, we'll make you do your picks coming up after this one. We'll take a break. We'll be back after this. Huge thanks to Zack Bolduc here on BK and Ferrario on 101 ESPN.
to more exclusive Blues talk. 101 ESPN is live from the Centene Community Ice Center. Brought to you by Bud Light and E&B Granite. Bernie Federko's only choice for granite countertops, cabinets, and flooring.
All right, perfect day to do this.
God, it felt good. Does not smell good in here, but boy, did it feel good.
I feel like we're kind of being punished right now with the smell.
I just texted.
We're all in this together, boys.
I just texted Brett, who, of course, PR with the Blues, incredible dude, to help us out to bring Bolduc down. I just texted him. I said, hey, man, tell Zach thanks so much. He goes, oh, Zach was like, I'll do that anytime you want me to. So, buddy, you made a friend.
That's good. That's good. We got a good image of this. Zach breaking the egg right over my head.
What a still shot by T-Bone. We'll get it up on social soon, but what a still shot. Look
if you
at
guys
the
want to check us out, youtube.com/101 ESPN STL is the place to go. We will be doing those throughout the show today. Hopefully we'll have a couple other Blues individuals, maybe JR, maybe Chris Kerber. We'll see. We'll see what we can do to get some people to crack some eggs over my head.
I need to smash something on your face. So
right now, though, it is time for our football pick'em. T-Bone, after 1 week, is a perfect 3-0, 6 points. Alex went 2-1 last week. Unfortunately, did not get his 3-point play. He has 3 points after the first week, and I'm 1-2. I have my 2-point play. That's where we're at. T-Bone, as the winner of last week, you have the honors of going first. What is your 1-point play for this week, my friend?
I'm going to start in the NFL for my 1-point play. And look, guys, everybody now is hearing Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams try and sell you the story of about the year when Rodgers said, hey, patience. And the Packers ended up coming back. They roared back and made the playoffs. Not this week, boys. The Cardinals are going to put them back in their place. They are not favored at home, which surprises me a little bit. Give me the Cardinals plus 1.5 versus the Jets. That's my 1-point play this week.
Love it. Gave serious consideration.
That's my 2-point play. I'm in the same line of thinking with you. I feel like I'm betting against the Jets no matter what this season, and I think Arizona wins this one straight up. It's a home game. The Jets are just trash right now, and at this point, you know you have no shot at a postseason. I picked Arizona plus 1.5. That was my 2-point play.
All right, so my 1-point play is also in the NFL. It makes me a little nervous because it feels wrong. Like, I feel like the line is off for this game.
Well, that's not the good start to this pick.
No doubt. This is a classic BK way to go about things. But the Commanders are at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Commanders have been one of the best teams in the NFL this year. The Steelers have a great defense, not taking anything away from them. I don't trust their offense at all with Russell Wilson. Commanders are only a 2.5-point favorite in this game. So give me the Commanders minus the 2.5 at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they win this one by 6+. So I'll take the Commanders.
So I had that one as my 1 point, but I don't want to just copy everybody. And I feel
you can do it. It's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
No.
Hey, I would do it. Why not?
If that's the one you feel the best about, go for it.
It was a tie between them and Buffalo at -4, and I don't know how.
Let's go in on the Commanders together.
Well, at least it's not the 3-point play, because that was my 1-point play. So, yeah, that one was my 1-point play with the Commanders.
What's your rationale?
Mostly, I think there's going to be an instilled confidence of the Washington Commanders team after that trade of Lattimore. And I know Lattimore's not playing. Dan Quinn announced it just a couple of minutes ago. But when you go out and make a move like that, it gives an entire team confidence that, hey, we're better than what we previously thought we were at the beginning of the season. And I'm just not sold on Russell Wilson. I know he looked great there, but I think Washington's defense can at least keep Russell in check. And I think Jayden Daniels is so good that he can overcome that defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that was why I put them at 1 point. I was a little bit more confident on Arizona, but when it was on home field, that's where I was comfortable.
T-Bone, what's your 2-point play?
Well, I know you won't have my 2-point play, Alex.
Because it's
copy
college?
This one, because it is college football.
Right.
Guys, Iowa State lost last week, and now they are basically on the verge of elimination. They need to win out, and they're going to need some help to get to the college football playoff. This week they go on the road. It's, I guess, a neutral site game. It's being played at Arrowhead Stadium as they take on Kansas. Hey, I've told you guys my rationale about the Kansas Jayhawks. They stink! So give me Iowa State -3 to cover against the Kansas Jayhawks.
You are absolutely correct. I did not have that one on my slate because it's a college football game, and I stay the hell away from that.
On my 2-point play for this week, I'm also going to the college football slate. I don't know if this is me coping. I don't know if this is me being a bad fan, but I'm doing it anyways, boys. Oklahoma is coming into Columbia, and they are only a 2.5-point favorite against my Tigers. I am of the belief that Drew Pine will be starting this game for Mizzou, and I don't know how Mizzou scores. I don't think Oklahoma's going to do a lot of scoring either because their offense is also bad. But Mizzou, with Drew Pine at quarterback, has shown no ability to do anything offensively. I don't think that's going to change in this game. I hope it does. I would love nothing more than to be wrong here. I think Oklahoma comes in and wins an ugly game in what is supposed to be a bad weather game as well, 13-6. And we look back on this and say, they won, they covered. Let's go forward.
If I had any faith in either team, I would have loved to have taken this game. But I can't trust either quarterback or either team for that one. I was too scared to try and take that game because I considered it as well.
All right, T-Bone, what is your three-point play this week?
My three-point play going to stick in college. And let me tell you, this is a big old spread, fellas. And I ain't going to lie. I'm a little worried of taking this, especially as a three-point play. But I'm feeling a little lucky, so I'm going to follow the Irish. So give me Notre Dame minus 26.5 against Florida State. Guys, Florida State, I said Kansas stinks. Florida State, their only wins against Cal. They're going to end up going 2-10 this season. I don't think this is going to be close. Jeez. Notre Dame has figured things out ever since that loss to Northern Illinois. I think the offense is going to put up points. The defense is going to keep Florida State in check. I like them minus the 26.5 points against the Seminoles.
It is so many points. A backdoor cover very much in play here. Miami beat Florida State big. They won by 22. Clemson beat Florida State big. They won by 16.
And I covered that one.
You're
barely.
Basically looking at SMU.
Yeah.
You need to see from Notre Dame what SMU was able to do for them. It's too big of a spread for me to get in on, but you got the better team.
I'm feeling lucky.
All right, Alex, what do you have as your three-point play this week?
This is a bold pick, but I'm confident in it. I'm going to Sunday Night Football, and I'm saying the Detroit Lions are taking on the Houston Texans.
I had it on my list.
They're my favorite. Are they the favorite? I think it's 3.5 points is what it stands at. And I know the Texans just activated Nico Collins and his practice window opens. I don't know if he's going to play. I don't frankly care if he's going to play because you know what has not been good this season? Houston's defense. You know what's been awesome this season? Detroit's offense. They can do whatever they want. I feel like this one's going to be a shootout, but at the end of it, I feel like Jared Goff and that offense is going to score the game-winning touchdown, find a way to hold off the Houston Texans. So 3.5 points was easy for me.
I was going to pick that as my one-point play until I saw the Nico Collins news just a little bit ago. Nico Collins, he was on the practice field today. I would bet he doesn't play, but I'm not willing to find out.
Yeah.
If I had the Lions minus a 3.5 and I found out that Nico Collins was going to play on Sunday, I wouldn't love that pick. So that's why I ended up going away from it. My three-point play, I don't typically do this. I'm going to the college football slate. Give me the Ole Miss Rebels at home against Georgia. I think Ole Miss is the better team in this game. I think Ole Miss will win this game outright, and we will leave saying, man, the SEC is just not what it was last year. I feel that way about the SEC, and I think it's going to be, it's going to come true this week. I think Ole Miss might get back into the college football playoff mix if they win this game. Everything is at stake. They know that. Georgia knows that. Their fans know that. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere. Give me Ole Miss plus 3 points at home against Georgia. I think they get this done.
I think the stench in the room is getting to your brain because I don't see you winning this one if you took this as a 1-point play, I would say, okay, it's a little risky, but it's only 1 point. 3-point play? Woo, too saucy for me.
Yeah, you lay off that hard-boiled egg stink.
Those are our plays for the week. T-Bone has the Cardinals, Iowa State, and Notre Dame. Alex has the Commanders, Cardinals, and Lions. I have the Commanders, Oklahoma, and Ole Miss. Whether you want to follow us, fade us, check out the Circa Sports app in the state of Illinois. That is the place that Alex and I do all of our sports betting. We recommend that you do the same. They suggest. Check out FanDuel. Check out DraftKings. You're going to find the best lines. You're going to win the most money possible by betting with Circa Sports in Illinois. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we're getting into the junk drawer. But next, Mike McKenna, former NHL goalie, joins us here on 101 ESPN as he does each and every Friday. We'll talk to him about that play by Jordan Kyrou last night and what is he seeing from the Blues overall that's preventing them from being able to open things up on their power play. We'll ask Mike McKenna about that next here on 101 ESPN.
Grant Francis here with a SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The trouble continues for the Blues against Central Division opponents as they fall last night on home ice to the Utah Hockey Club. It was 2-1 Utah going into the third. Jordan Kyrou with a goal to tie it, but just 3 minutes later, a turnover by the same player ended up in the back of the net, which would result in the game-winning goal as Utah beat the Blues 4-2. St. Louis will look to rebound tomorrow as they conclude the homestand and welcome in the Washington Capitals. It'll be a 5 o'clock pregame and a 6 o'clock puck drop right here on your home for the Blues, 101 ESPN. And then on Sunday, we'll have a football Sunday for you. Commanders and Steelers will get us going. Pregame starts at 11. Cardinals and Jets then at 3:25. And then rounding out the night on Sunday Night Football will be Texans and Lions. That kickoff set for 7:20. I'm Grant Francis. The SportsCenter Update's been brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
We're going between the pipes with former NHL goaltender Mike McKenna. Between the Pipes is refreshed by Macadoodles. Fine wine, beer, and spirits. Coming soon to Darden Prairie.
Alongside Alex Ferrario and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Brandon Kiley, and it is time for our weekly conversation with the former NHL goalie, the current analyst for 101 ESPN each and every Friday on BK and Ferrario. He is Mike McKenna. You can check out his work on Twitter at Mike McKenna56, and he joins us each and every Friday via the Callier and Thompson hotline. You can watch us as well on YouTube, youtube.com/101 ESPN STL. Mike is kind enough to join us over there on the YouTube stream. Mike, appreciate the time, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. You know what I can't wait is for about next week to be when we open up Macadoodles, and then after that I could be in studio with you guys every Friday. We had a lot of things happen this week, so there's no shortage of things with the Blues to talk about, man. I just feel about this game this week it felt good, right? Until yesterday. Yeah. It just, can't we keep rolling? That's all I could think of. But a lot of positive things since we talked last Friday.
Well, Tuesday felt good, Saturday felt good, and then you see that dud against the Utah Hockey Club. Mike, big picture here, the Blues are now, I believe it's 2 games under 500 against the Western Conference. They have not beaten a team in the Central Division. They're 5-3 against the Eastern Conference. Does that tell you a story about this Blues team, or am I reading way too much into it?
I think it tells me how strong the Central Division is. And Coyotes, fellas. That's a good hockey club over there. And they play structured. They have solid goaltending. They're strong at the blue lines. They pressure hard. And I think you see that. I mean, you think about how good Dallas is in the division. I mean, even guys, Colorado's languishing down in the standings. That's not a bad hockey team. So this early in the year, sometimes things can look fluky about who a team's playing against. In my eyes, I think the Blues are still a good club that's been treading. I think they've been trending higher than they should, frankly, given all the injuries and the inexperience with the team. Still feel good about it. Still think watching the team's a hell of a lot of fun. Just wish that last night, man, there weren't as many turnovers, because as an ex-goalie, it's hard to see it when you see nonstop man rushes going the other direction. That's tough for us.
All right, let's talk about the turnover that Blues fans are pointing to today. Jordan Kyrou, for most of the game, played pretty well. He had that goal. That was an amazing play between he and Buchnevich working off one another. The one-timer for Kyrou ends up in the back of the net. Unfortunately, 3 minutes left in the game. He ends up trying to make a play that doesn't need to be made in that spot. It looks like we might have lost Mike McKenna, so if we did, we'll try to get him back on. You guys know the play that I'm referencing. He ends up trying to, the drop pass, looks like we got Mike McKenna back. Makes the drop pass in that spot. You just got to put it in deep, Mike. And the Blues, everybody involved, tried to make that clear after the game last night, including Jordan Kyrou. What did you make of that play? What did you see on it?
Well, it had already happened earlier once in the game where it wasn't Kyrou, I can't remember honestly if it was either Buchnevich on the left side or who it was, but spun back to the middle and threw a blind pass at the blue line across parallel. And I just went, no. And it didn't affect the Blues in that instance. but the last one did. And when you start to throw passes like that through the middle, you're just flirting with disaster. And it's tough because, guys, Jordan Kyrou has really been the go-to for the Blues this year, but we had the same conversation last week. One bad turnover and it's in your net and the game's over. And I'm telling you, man, it's going to stop happening less. At some point, it's going to happen less and less with Jordan. It already has happened less and less. But you have to wonder, with the feeling of the weight of the world on your shoulders right now, without having Robert Thomas in the lineup, Broberg's not back there. Jordan feels like he probably has to do a lot, I would think. And until there's a little bit of support, that's where the coaching staff has to continue keeping him on the right path to being a superstar in this league and just saying, hey, you don't have to do all this. You're fine to play your game, play within the guardrails. Opportunities are going to come to you like they did last night on the off wing with that big one-timer. He didn't have to skate down the ice with it. He just had to fire the puck. More of that from Kyrou is going to help the team.
Well, and it also feels like, Mike, the Blues are kind of forcing him to be that guy with all of these injuries by keeping Pavel Buchnevich at the center position. And then today we find out that they took him off the center spot. They put him on the wing. That could be a turning point for this Blues team that has been struggling mightily to score even strength goals. They've been relying on their third and fourth line. Now you get another goal scorer who is more comfortable on the wing than he's at the center position.
Well, and guys, doesn't this really all come down to Oscar Sundqvist coming back in the lineup?
Yeah, it does.
It really does. And it also has a lot to do with Dylan Holloway playing some quality minutes. And, man, thankfully everything ended up okay the other night. You see a player take a puck towards the throat and you get so nervous about it and so happy that he's okay. But he's showing to be a real option at the center ice position for the Blues. So that takes some pressure off because Shen can eat up some minutes until Thomas comes back. They can platoon it a little bit until that time. But I think we're at the point that we know Pavel Buchnevich is best served on the wing when he's carrying the puck, when he doesn't have the load of trying to take faceoffs. That's where he's at his best. And, he's second on the team in scoring right now, but I think Buchnevich will start to take off again if he can just kind of stay within his lane, playing the left side when Thomas comes back and give the Blues some flexibility.
What have you seen from this power play, Mike?
I've seen a lot of puck movement and player movement that makes me feel encouraged about it. It makes me feel good. But I'm not seeing the results here, fellas, right? That's what it comes down to. I'm watching last night, and for half of the power play, the Blues had this odd setup with 2 players up high and 3 down low. No bumper, and I just kept looking at that thinking, how are they going to generate shots from the good ice with that setup? How are they going to have somebody from the flank getting it to the net without having the bumper or at least a one-timer option? Everybody was too low. Now they cycled back around to a traditional 1-3-1, so I understand why. Right now it's missing that same hammer that we haven't seen. They're making it easy on opposing goalies to get set and get ready. Well, when you saw Kyrou bomb away, that's what you need more of. You need net front. You need shots from the side, but you got to move the puck quickly.
Is this a personnel issue in your opinion, or is it a schematic issue in your opinion?
Well, I think it's probably a little of both at this point. When you don't have the same type of weapons of an Alex Ovechkin or an Austin Matthews, let's face it, the Blues don't have snipers like that. They just don't right now, guys. And you can't fight that, but you can manufacture goals. And no matter what anybody says in a post-game interview that, well, we just got to get pucks to the net and grease out a goal. That's not the truth when it comes to power play. You got to be good systematically. You got to have a game plan, but you need people that finish. And to me, that's kind of the blind spot of the Blues. They work hard. They play pretty well in their zone for the most part defensively. But the offensive zone can be careless at times, and they don't have a true sniper or 2 or 3 like some of the really top-end teams. I just see that coming through. So how do you alleviate that? You draft well. And that's what the Blues have done recently. Unfortunately, we're still another 1, 2, 3 years away from seeing those draft picks come to fruition to be not just Thomas or be Kyrou putting the puck in the net.
Mike, I'm going to do something that I typically don't do and throw some numbers at you, and then I'm going to ask you the question. When Suter and Parayko are on the ice together at 5-on-5, they've played the second most minutes together. They've got the best goal differential in the NHL in terms of a D pairing and the most D starts. From a goaltender's perspective, do the Blues have a top shutdown pair in Parayko and Suter?
How could they not? How can you not say that with those stats? I love
That's
stats,
insane.
and I believe in them.
Me?
It is absolutely. Now let's not. Again, we've done this before. Let's not expect that to continue all season long. But guys, Colton Parayko's been unleashed this year.
Yeah.
Like Ryan Suter has given him the comfort level to go and do what he needs to, which I did not expect from Suter. I think this is a nice, pleasant surprise for the whole team. It goes back to Parayko when he first came in. We all thought he was going to be a puck rushing D, up in the play, an absolute horse, a right-handed Victor Hedman. Yeah. And Colton Parayko has been an absolutely phenomenal defenseman in the NHL. The offensive peak probably hasn't hit what we ever expected. But I got to tell you, watching him go right down Broadway, look off with a fake pass, tuck it underneath the bar, that's awesome, dude. Yep. Like, I'm like amped watching this. And by the way, Jake Neighbors, if you're a kid watching it, go back and watch that goal. If you're a parent, go back and watch that goal. Jake Neighbors makes the drop at the blue line, and he drives the D back to give space for Colton Parayko. Jake Neighbors is the reason why that goal could happen. That's a learning point for everyone with it. But, man, I never really thought Parayko's goal scoring was going to be rushing the puck and a snapshot from the top circle. I thought it was always going to be a big hammer. Here he is scoring goals in ways we didn't expect. So –
sorry to interrupt, Mike, but the part that I find so interesting with it, too, is, he's not 26 years old, so you can't look at it and be like, oh, my God, it's a franchise defenseman. But we've seen in the past that sometimes defensemen age like fine wine. He's 31 years old. Like, this is his 10th season in the NHL, and you are finally seeing the offensive prowess for a guy who has already been playing 22, 23 minutes a night in his career.
Okay, Ryan Suter, we got another decade of this bad boy.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, Ryan Suter and I were both Nashville draft picks years ago, and I gave him a ride from the airport to the practice facility. He gave me $20 for it. It was awesome. Because we had to pay for it ourselves because we were college kids back then. So if I ever see Ryan, I'll just have to see if he remembers me, which he won't, of course. But
he'll say, yeah, you were my Uber driver back in the 2000s.
I literally was, man. I tell you what, he's got a beautiful rink up in Madison. I got a buddy of mine that manages it up there for him. Nice. Shout out to the Kirkwood Stars B1 team last year that took a championship at that rink last year. But anyway, if this is the way Colton Parayko continues the rest of his career, amazing, right? I don't think it should be expected that he stays at that, but there's a comfort level to this, guys, and it can happen at 27 or 8. It can happen as a goalie. I did not play my best hockey until I was in my 30s. 100% full stop. I know that. Maybe we're seeing that from Colton. He's been a horse.
All right, last thing that I've got for Mike McKenna before he tells us a little bit about what he's doing with Macadoodles 1 week away from their grand opening. Mike, what is one specific thing that you've been looking at and you find it to be interesting or surprising or nauseating, whatever it might be? I'm going to leave this open-ended. You can take it in whatever direction about what you've seen from the St. Louis Blues so far to start out the season. What's one thing that you've been honing in on?
I'd like to be really positive about this because coming into today's talk, it was forefront of my mind, and it's how good Nathan Walker and Alexei Torpchenko have been for the St. Louis Blues.
Thank you, Mike.
I don't know how anybody could watch the Blues and not think that those and Roddick Fox is in the mix too, right? But I don't know how anybody can watch the Blues and think that Walker and Torpchenko don't factor into the heartbeat of that club. When that puck drops, those guys put it on the line. They play hard. They're consistent. They're passionate. They both have amazing accents. Like I just
that's a big part.
When I watch that,
he's not wrong. Russian, Australian, what a
Roddick Fox in there as well.
Slovakian, I believe. 3. That's incredible.
It is, guys. I mean, you want to go down and have a melting pot meal. That's as good as it gets. But those guys, I just love watching them, and I've liked them for a long time. But, Nathan Walker wasn't a given for this lineup, guys. And if he comes out of the lineup, I don't like the Blues right now. End of story. He's fought for everything his whole career, and I have so much respect for players like that. I think those two have been awesome.
Mike, our text line knows I like being right. I don't like being wrong. And I got a lot of grief earlier in the season when I said, I can't believe that the Blues are taking Nathan Walker out of this lineup. I don't get it. He makes them better. He's a guy that every night you know what you're getting out of him. It's not perfect. He's never going to be a top line level player. But on that fourth line, he gives you exactly what you need from that group. So I'm so glad that somebody with your resume that understands the game at a level that I never will sees the same.
All right, wipe the drool off your face. That. Calm down, jeez.
Well, you know what? Our buddy Jamie Rivers had a great question pregame last night, and he just asked him what his favorite song was, and he was trolling to get Down Under for Walker, and I loved it. So great job, Riv. That was as good a question as you could ever ask.
All right, last thing, Mike. We'll get you out of here on this. Tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing over at Macadoodles. Tell people about how they can find out more about your grand opening 1 week from today.
Well, the first thing you do is you follow us on social media, Macadoodles, Dardian Prairie, Instagram, Facebook. The second thing you can do is drive by the site. We're at the corner of Bryan and Feisey Road in St. Charles County, just north of the 364 page extension. And I got to tell you, man, I just saw yesterday 300, let's just say a lot of alcohol come in this place yesterday. Okay. And we're talking, I'm taking a gander around this joint. We got allocateds that aren't just bourbon, allocated tequilas. We're going to have all kinds of fun stuff sitting out on the floor. We've got something that during our grand opening next Friday, that's right, next Friday at 9 a.m., November 15th, we even have something that's made by a company called Royal of Crown that has black something in the name, a title of it that everybody's asking for right now. We're going to have a great time. We got tastings coming all afternoon on Friday. We have the Clydesdale coming from Budweiser from 3 to 5 p.m. for everybody to come see. On Saturday, November 16th, we're even going to be visited by none other than Clownvis. So we have some good stuff rolling out here. 9 a.m. on the 15th, we'll be opening up to serve you just north of the Page Extension, Bryan and Feisey Road.
Love it. Well, I'm going to try to get out there early in the morning next Friday. I'm going to be heading straight out to Kansas City for a wedding next weekend, but I'm going to try to get out there next Friday in the morning to see you guys for the grand opening. Thanks as always, Mike, for the time, man. We'll talk with you again next week.
And Mike, if you'd
Talk
like
to you live at the grand opening.
If you'd like to stick around just with us on our YouTube channel, Mike, you can watch.
Oh, God, I forgot we got to do this.
BK take a couple of eggs.
All right, I'll get ready. I'll assume the position.
So hang around, Mike. You get to
Game on,
this.
fellas.
Yeah, this is like play-by-play and color commentary. You did this for the Vegas Golden Knights and on TNT. So here's the thing. I was going to do this, but BK had a tone problem towards Tanner during a commercial break. So instead, Mike, I'm going to give T-Bone 2 eggs. I brought a carton. I hard-boiled them myself. And we're going to let T-Bone go to work on this. So you missed it earlier. We had Bolduc in here. Bolduc decided to take a little anger out. Hold on. I got to zoom out of this camera so everybody can see. All right. Here we go. All right. Assume the position, Brandon. Egg number 1. Oof. Boom.
Oh, yeah. That's a heavy hit.
Yeah. All right, Mike. Egg number 2. Oh, he got 2 hard-boiled eggs. Rub it in his hair.
That's the anti-omelet right there.
Yeah, hold on. We're going to go another one. BK wants some more. 1, 2, 3. Oh, man, I am going so many eggs later. Final one. Oh, my God. All right, so he is getting straight egg yolk for the rest of this one. That's amazing.
It's time for an omelet.
Yep.
Get out the cheese, get out the mushrooms, get out the jalapenos.
It's a stanky omelet. Mike, appreciate the time, buddy. We'll talk to you next Friday.
You got it. Thank you.
All right, we're going to try and make the smell of this place not go down into a sewer. We'll hit the junk drawer next here on 101 ESPN.
Open it up. The Junk Drawer with BK and Ferrario.
Brought to you by Fenton Bar and Grill. Best trashed wings in Missouri. Dine in, carry out, 7 days a week.
Welcome into the Junk Drawer here on BK and Ferrario. Alex, how many of those eggs do we have left?
There are 6 eggs left. 3 and 3, and I'm assuming there's 5 raw eggs and 1 hard-boiled egg.
Because I somehow picked 4
We're counting
hard-boiled
cards
eggs.
over here.
Oh, man, that means, so we're going to do 3 and 3. We're going to do 1 after the 1:15 segment and then 1 at the end of the show. That means I'm hoping all 3 are raw at the end of the show.
All right, so I'm paying off my punishments today. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN.
So
if you're new to the show, each and every Friday we make 3 picks against the spread for college football, NFL. Whoever ends up losing for that month gets punished. My punishment this month is having 6 raw eggs cracked over my head over the course of an entire show. So be sure to tune in. YouTube.com/101 ESPN STL is the place where you can go to be able to watch that live as it happens. Alex, what do you have for us today in the Junk Drawer?
So, guys, have you ever watch a movie and you're like, that could never happen, right? Like, you see the movie The Strangers, When a Stranger Calls, like, that could never happen. Sharknado, that could never happen.
That one I know. I didn't get the first reference.
What did you think when you saw Planet of the Apes?
That will happen. I saw iRobot and thought, that is a documentary. We're just 50 years ahead of our time.
I'm going to correct your segment and say that is happening because in South Carolina, 43 monkeys escaped their research facility, and police in South Carolina are warning residents to secure their doors and windows.
43 monkeys?
43 monkeys.
That feels like after the first 3 left, you'd be like, we should probably go ahead and lock everything down.
I don't think one walked out of the door like the other, like a cartoon. I'm assuming it was a mass escape when they all got out.
Do you think they were, like, planning this?
Oh,
is this like a prison break where there was a lot of thought that went into how do we go
Planet
about
of the
it?
Apes. Have you seen that, the newest one?
Yes.
Yeah, where they plan the escape in Planet of the Apes?
Or it's like in
100%
Jurassic
like
Park with the velociraptors. They communicate with each other. They know how to set traps, and they found a way. So the authorities are saying the primates were very young females weighing approximately 6 to 7 pounds. But
do they know how they escaped?
I don't believe they know how.
That or they won't tell.
There's got to be cameras.
The staff at Alpha Genesis are currently attempting to entice the animals back using food in order to ensure their safe capture. They don't know how they escaped, though. They were spotted in a wooded region near the facility. If I'm somebody,
is a zoo?
No, this was a research facility.
Yeah.
This was a research facility in Beaufort County.
I'm just trying to imagine, what is that call where they send the message to your phone?
The ping? The alerts.
The alerts, like a tornado warning or something like that.
Remember Hawaii where they said there was a nuclear bomb that was coming towards them?
Does that go out on the phone for monkeys loose? Lock all your doors? Because how else are you getting that message across? Like, sure, you post it on Facebook, but there's a chance people don't follow you on Facebook.
Quote, it's kind of a playground situation out here.
Yeah, you think? How big is this town? Where'd you say they're at?
It's Beaufort County in South Carolina.
Beaufort County. Let's see.
B-E-A-U-F-O-R-T County.
In the 2020 census,
they set up traps and using thermal imaging cameras. This is like Predator.
187,000 people. This is right outside of Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. So, yeah, here's a picture. You can go Google what the monkeys look like, the primates that are out there.
They say do not approach, by the way, the monkeys.
Yeah.
Do you think, you know how MoDOT has those, punny signs up on their, big build on the highway that says, buckle up for trick-or-treating or something like that? Do they send alerts to people that say, close your doors and windows so you have no more monkeys jumping on your bed?
I like how you were workshopping that for the last 10 minutes.
I totally was, man.
That was solid.
My daughter would have loved that.
Yeah, I think that was a good, solid dad joke.
I thought it was good, man. No more monkeys jumping on the bed.
Really?
But in all reality,
see,
probably lucky.
The reason I asked though, why would they send it out to your phone is I would have no idea.
Yeah.
Well,
they have thumbs, Greg.
In my apartment complex, I would open up the windows all the time. Is that a reference? I have no idea.
Yeah, let's meet the parents. I didn't want to say the last name because I wasn't sure if everybody would panic or not. Grant would have been looking for the dump button pretty quick.
All right, coming up next.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
That's for TMA talk.
What a great movie.
I feel like I can't decide if this would be a movie that T-Bone would think lives up to the hype.
Oh,
or
no,
if
he
he'd be
would
like,
hate it.
oh, no, this
Yeah.
is terrible. You guys hyped up another comedy from the 2000s.
But you know why he wouldn't get it? Because he's
comedy doesn't live up.
Well, he's never lived it. You haven't lived it where you've gone to meet the in-laws or like the girlfriend's
No, I don't think
parents.
that's it. Because at the time, I hadn't met in-laws. I was like 12 when I saw it for the first time.
Jesus, you were 12 when you saw it?
Meet the Parents? It had to come out in what, 2003?
Came out in 2000.
Yeah.
I guess I was 10 when I saw it.
Meet the Fockers was what?
You can't say that.
It's
That's what I was gonna say.
Fockers.
That's what I was going to say.
Falkers?
Got
2004.
Fockers.
So yeah, I was 12.
But yeah, they can open doors and windows, so good luck locking them. And they can smash doors and windows, you know? They're monkeys.
Great.
They're strong.
It'll be fantastic. Coming up next, we are learning more about the Cardinals' trading plans, and Bill DeWitt III said all the things that you'd want to hear as a fan. We'll let you hear from him next here on 101 ESPN. Alex, it's not every day that you get one of the most important figures within an organization locally to come on with you and share open, honest, candid answers on the air. That is exactly what happened earlier today when TMA had Bill DeWitt III on the show, and they talked to him about the current landscape of RSNs, what the Cardinals are going to have next year, and to clear things up, because yesterday there was a lot of confusion about what exactly this means, the Bally Sports Midwest, FanDuel Sports Midwest, the re-up with the Cardinals. If you're in St. Louis and you previously didn't have a cable subscription that included FanDuel Sports Midwest and you wanted to watch the Cardinals, you couldn't. It wasn't available for you because of blackouts. You couldn't stream the games unless you did so illegally via any kind of a service. MLB TV for Cardinals games, not available in the TV viewing area. That has now changed. Now you can purchase the ability to stream those games through FanDuel Sports Midwest. That's the biggest game changer for fans with this one. It's going to be probably somewhere around $20 a month. That's what it's been elsewhere. Bill DeWitt III referenced that earlier today. So that's the RSN side of things. And that's good for fans, and it, I think long-term, will be good for the team that they can continue to be on cable and also have the subscription-based model. But I appreciated that Bill DeWitt III was honest with fans about why payroll is going down next year. It's not just because they want to see the young players. He also explained the specifics on why that is going to be the case. Here's what he had to say on TMA.
I mean, we have two giant revenue streams that are going the wrong way. And we're also committed to investing a lot more in player development and, frankly, other areas of improvement. So,
and when you say other areas of improvement, what would those be?
Like front office stuff and investing in various, business-related initiatives and, staffing and things like that.
He said the quiet part out loud. Hey, Bill, why is payroll going down? Because two of our biggest revenue streams are going to have less money coming in next year. And that means when you take less in, you put less out. If they just opened with that, if they just led with that, I think a lot of Cardinals fans would be like, okay, that makes sense. But instead they had to sell this other thing about, hey, we're reinvesting. And he did mention that, and that's where some of the money is going to be siphoned off into. But that's not the reason why they're pulling back on payroll next year. The reason they're pulling back is because of these revenue streams.
Yeah, and I'm just glad somebody explained to them that it's time to be honest, because for the longest time, it has been what BK mentioned. I mean, we went through 3 press conferences to explain the minor league system, and our minor leagues are in great shape, and it's just we need to reinvest in them. No. The TV stuff is very blurry, and as Bill mentioned also, the ticket. You're not bringing in as much people because of the ticket, taking a step backwards, which means we are going to have to cut back how much money we are putting into the team. If anything took place with this Cardinals team in the offseason, I wanted honesty. And it felt like you finally got it from Bill DeWitt III.
All right, he continued, and I thought this was a good question. TMA asked, listen, what if you could go back about the way that the Cardinals have operated over the last decade? Where did things go wrong? They left it open-ended. Here's what Bill DeWitt III had to say.
I wouldn't change a thing. No, I'm just kidding.
Nice. All right. Jackson's tweeting it out. Have fun today.
Too late. It's going viral already.
You've already clipped it. It's already out there.
It's already gone. That's the game.
But, yeah, I think for sure. I mean, look, hindsight's 20/20. It's a hyper-competitive industry. I mean, one of the things that probably is fair is that, we thought we had a pretty darn good model going. I mean, when you have 20 years straight of success, for the most part, you start to think, you're doing things the right way. We didn't bring a lot of people in from the outside. I mean, I'm just generalizing. Of course, some were, but and I think we probably, some other teams surpassed us in technology and innovation and applied technology from a player development standpoint, perhaps. So we definitely look back and say we messed up in that regard. I don't think it's maybe quite as dramatic as some have postulated. We also, as I said before, we let some guys go in trades or otherwise that have performed better elsewhere. We have had to take a really hard look as to why. I mean, those are usually individual case-by-case situations, but it's happened too many times. And we used to be the team that would grab somebody and they would have their career year. So, that's got to change. And that's what's behind our effort to focus on player development. Because even if you, let's just say, went all in one year and just said, screw it, I'm going to try to keep up with the Mets. If you don't have a system that you can count on that's developing people to their maximum ability, then, that's not even going to work. So we have to take a step back and lay the groundwork for another run of sustained success. And that's what we're committed to doing.
Having some technical difficulties out at the Centene Community Ice Center. We'll try to get back out to BK and Ferrario in just a little bit. But if you're listening right now, you were just hearing the president of the St. Louis Cardinals, Bill DeWitt III, on our morning show TMA earlier today, talking about what went wrong over the last decade with the Cardinals. He went on to talk about the fact that he believes that this team can still retool and not just rebuild. Here's what he had to say.
We have to core with big free agent investments is prudent given that we want to, plan for the future. And planning for the future means you got to lay the groundwork. You've got to have good young players with upside who you give the playing time to. I mean, unfortunately, one of the things that we've seen and too much of is some of our good players that we've drafted with a good draft model succeed elsewhere. And is that because we either, valued them incorrectly or our player development system didn't do what others did? Or is it because we got unlucky? Or is it because there's a lot of factors there. The good news is we keep finding good players. We need to, the other reason is maybe we didn't play them enough and we didn't see what they could do. We're committed to making sure we see what our young players can do and doing everything we can in the player development pipeline to develop them properly. And then at that point, we can add pieces back and build up the payroll, and the revenue should follow.
This is everything that Cardinals fans have wanted to hear. All of it. Just be honest. Be open, be honest. Tell us about your plan. Explain it to us. The Blues have been doing this. They're laying out the model for the Cardinals. I don't know if it's going to work for the Blues. Just full disclosure. I have no idea if what they're doing is going to lead them to be a championship contending team. But I have faith in the plan because they've laid it out for us and they're following it step by step. The Cardinals, what has grown frustrating in recent seasons is that they will not lay out the plan for you. And sometimes they do lay out a plan, and by the most technical of senses, they will exceed that plan. Like, hey, payroll's going up. Is it actually going up, or are you just using a technicality here where the Rockies are paying X amount of dollars for this payroll or for this aspect of Nolan Arenado's contract, and there's deferred money here? And yes, all of that is going towards this year's payroll, but it's not. The heart of it is not what Cardinals fans were expecting. This is honest answers by Bill DeWitt III explaining why things went wrong, what they should have done differently, said we were too insular, didn't have enough tech and innovation, players were having more success elsewhere, and they need to find out why that is. Okay, yeah, all of those things Cardinals fans have been talking about for a long time. Makes sense that you would want to change that. Him saying at the end of that last answer, hey, we're going to take a step back, learn what we have internally, and then when we get good again, push. That is something we've talked about, T-Bone, a lot of. Are they going to reinvest in this thing, or is this just going to be the new model? It sounds like they're saying publicly, this is not the new model. We want to take a step back to find out what we have here, and then we'll push again the way that we had previously, but we need to get our house in order first before we start doing this. All of this makes sense, dude. All of it. And it's something that I think Cardinals fans can get behind, but they need more messaging like that and less messaging like what we have seen for the past 3 to 5 years.
Now, if I can be honest with it, because you nailed it on all of those, it felt like I was listening to Tom Stillman and Doug Armstrong talk about the Cardinals, which is a really refreshing feeling. Maybe that's why they called it a refresh. But it felt nice to hear that today. But if I'm putting myself in a lot of Cardinals fans' shoes today that are listening and have listened to Bill DeWitt III say those things, this is all great, but back it up. Because why people believe Doug Armstrong and Tom Stillman can get this thing right is they've backed it up. They backed it up when they went and got Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway. They've been aggressive. They've traded pieces away. They've made nice picks when they're drafts. The Cardinals have done some of those. They took J.J. Weatherholt, which we've talked about. You've seen the development of Mason Wynn and Alec Burleson and Brendan Donovan. But from everything Bill DeWitt is saying in terms of, look, technology and innovation has taken a back seat, and we have to fix that. We need to put more people in place so that we can stop having guys that play well elsewhere. We need to start giving our younger guys the opportunity to play and see what they have on our team before we ship them out. Awesome. Thank you for being honest. But back it up, please.
100%.
Because when the season begins and you don't see – and look, I understand it's going to be 1 year. You got to give them leeway. You can't sit there and be like, fix this now. But when this season begins and you don't see the development in the minor leagues, or you see Ivan Herrera sitting on the bench because Pedro Pajes is getting more starts at the catcher position, you're going to sit there and be like, man, you told us all of this, but nothing's taken place.
I mean, to be fair, that one I can't really criticize. I will criticize them for it because I don't agree with the decision. I would go Herrera over Pajes. That is still two young players getting those opportunities. Yeah. What I do think would be fair is if they go into next season and Michael McGreevy starts the year in AAA, or if he starts the year in the bullpen. That's not the best
Jordan
use.
Walker gets sent down a month into the season.
Absolutely. Those are the things that are fair to be critical of, especially if they get replaced by veterans. That's not the direction that this team should be going. They shouldn't be losing playing time to guys that have no future here in St. Louis that are on one-year deals. And I think that's really what we're seeing. Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn, not going to be back next year. Who's going to fill in their spots? It should be Palante and McGreevy. That should be the way that things go. Replace the older veterans that were on one-year deals, no future, with the younger players. So I think they're going about it the right way. I think this can work. Now it becomes you got to get stuff right. And now instead of judging them on the process, it becomes the results. It becomes you went about it the right way. You do have to then have the players that come from this, though. It can't just be we're retooling every single season. No, in a market like this, when you have as many solid players already as they have, it's going to be time to push sooner rather than later. All right, coming up in about 15 minutes, we're going to get into our NFL weekend look ahead. The game of the week, the matchup of the week, the upset of the week. We'll get into all of that in 15 minutes. But next, the Blues power play is once again going to be one of the biggest topics in St. Louis. What happened here, and is there a fix? Plus, I'll get punished next year on 101 ESPN.
Blues talk more often. 101 ESPN is live from the Centene Community Ice Center. Brought to you by Bud Light and E&B Granite. Bernie Federko's only choice for granite countertops, cabinets, and flooring.
At the end of the segment, you can check out YouTube, youtube.com/101ESPN-STL. Alex, T-Bone, I don't know who's going to do it. I think Alex.
I get the last two. I have been sitting watching people do this all day, and I know that 5 of these 6 are raw eggs. So, no, it's me the rest of the day, buddy.
Can I finish?
No, you can't finish. And don't get Tony because I'm going to adjust on the fly and just whoop-ah right in the face.
At the end of this segment, I will be punished with 3 more eggs. Probably all 3 will be cracked over my head that are not hard-boiled because we have 6 remaining and 5 of them are of the egg yolk variety.
Shout out to my wife for scrambling them up enough.
You can check that out on YouTube, youtube.com/101ESPN-STL. And in 15 minutes, we will get into our NFL weekend look ahead. But we start right now with the Blues power play, Alex. Once again, a big storyline for the St. Louis Blues. 0 for 3 last night. They had as many shots on goal against as they did shots on goal for on the power play. That's not a good place to be. They had 1 shot on goal on their power plays last night. They're now 2 for 28 on the power play since October 15th. That is 3 weeks. You have gone 2 for 28, and you're 4 for 34 on the season, tied for dead last in the NHL. Alex, my question that I had to Mike, I want to ask to you as well. We can all see the numbers. We can all see what's going on. In your opinion, is this a personnel issue, which is not really fixable in season? You get Thomas back, you get Broberg back, that can help, but right now there's not really much you can do about that. Or is this something deeper, where whether it's schematics or the way they're going about it? What do you think has been the biggest issue for the Blues on the power play this year?
I would lean, I think Mike's right where he said, like, it's a little bit of both, but I would say the slice of pie is 90% personnel and then 10% schematics. They don't have 3 guys on that power play that you need for a successful power play. You've got, in my opinion, the quarterback. That's Justin Falk. You don't have the centerman. You don't have the sniper. And you don't have the proper bumper. Because you're using...
Well, that's 3 out of 5.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you've got the net front presence in Jake Neighbors, but guess what? The net front presence doesn't matter if you don't have puck possession. And guess where you don't get puck possession? Off of the faceoff. You don't have the threat of a snipe anywhere on the ice. And that is always going to put you behind the 8 ball because guess what? Goaltenders know what you're going to do. They know you're going to try and pass with the bumper in the middle, but that's the other thing. They've had to move their bumper in the middle out, who's been Pavel Buchnevich, because you don't have a shot from the outside. You're using 2 defensemen on this one, which I don't mind, but it's not ideal. You need a sniper, you need a bumper, and you need a guy who can win the faceoff. So I do feel like a lot of this is personnel. Picture it this. I'm going to go math for you guys here. This should get you real excited. You've got a 2-minute power play. You lose the faceoff. Puck comes out of the zone. Scratch off about 30 seconds of going back to get it and resetting.
For this team, 40.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. Now, this team add an extra 10 seconds to do the drop pass, and then another 10 seconds to get the puck killed off at the blue line because the team knows what you're doing.
Now you got to go back again. I would try it one more time. Now we're going to skate it into the zone.
Now you've just done 60 seconds, and the second time around, let's say you get set back up, but that's going to take you 15 to 20 seconds. Now you're giving yourself 45 seconds to shoot the puck. And now you're trying to force it.
With the second unit on the ice because you've had to go back and reset.
Yeah, probably. And now you're scrambling and you're forcing it. And guess what you do when you force it? You take a shot that misses the net, rims around the board, and now you're out again. There's no consistency. This starts from winning the faceoff and ends with putting pucks on net. And you have not been doing either of them. You just mentioned the shots on goal in that game. You're 0 for 10 in your last 4 with 8 shots on goal. You're not even getting a shot on goal per power play.
Dude, you should be getting a shot on goal every 2 minutes.
Yes.
Much less power play.
The best power plays, if you go look at them, are averaging about 3 to 4 shots per power play. And you're getting less than 1. That's your problem. Everything.
Yeah. I think what you said about the personnel for me, like to answer my own question, and T-Bone, I'm curious your thoughts on this. I think the personnel issues are the biggest thing that's hindering this team on the power play. I think it's been the case for a while now. We've seen basically since the moment that David Perron walked out that door, they have not been able to replace that particular skill that David Perron had. And until they do, this is what it's going to look like, man. Now, it shouldn't be the worst in the league. And I think some of that, and nobody wants to hear it, but I think some of that is just bad luck. Like sometimes you don't have puck luck and it ends up
and injuries. I mean, sure, you're not the worst in the league if you have Robert Thomas, and I think by now Philip Broberg would be playing on that number one unit.
Absolutely. So between those two things, luck, injuries, which is also just bad fortune, that's playing a lot into this. You probably have, let's call it 1 or 2 more goals, and then you're like 20th in the league. It's still a story, still not a good unit, but feels a lot different than what it has been so far this year. I just think that the lack of shot, the lack of a one-time option continues to be the biggest thing that is hindering this power play.
Yeah.
And will continue to be so the rest of the season. I don't expect that to change.
And that's why I think it's the personnel, because you don't have that guy on the team. And like, to me, like, if you told me they had the worst power play, then Alex tells me they're averaging less than a shot per power play, it wouldn't surprise me, because without that one-time shot, what happens? Sure, you can have all the puck movement you want, but by the time you get the puck, say it comes cross-ice. Well, now if you're, whoever that is, settle the puck down. Now by the time you've settled the puck and now you're ready to take that wrist shot, the defense is already recovered, or the goalie's already recovered. So that's why the one-time shot's so important, because you can go cross-ice with it, or it doesn't even have to be cross-ice, but when the pass gets there, it's just, boom, moment hits the stick, it's a shot. It's not settle the puck down, wait, see, what do I have? Okay, maybe I've got to pass, maybe I've got to shoot. Your brain just starts to think about it more, and there's just more time for the defense and goalie to recover. That's why teams have these one-time shots are the best power plays in the league. It's why Edmonton's typically up there. They've got guys that can do that. Why was Washington up there in the glory days of Alexander Ovechkin? Because he had that shot. I hate to say it, there's nothing real tactical that is going to change for the Blues that's suddenly going to make this power play better. It's just going to be, once you get that personnel, then that power play percentage will start to go up.
If you were to ask the Blues front office, Doug Armstrong, Alexander Steen, like, hey, like long-term, what's the plan for this power play? They know what it is. It's Jimmy Snuggerud. It's Robert Thomas. It's Pavel Buchnevich. It's Jake Neighbors, and it's Philip Broberg. Like, that's the long-term play right now. But you're kind of putting this together with sticks and bubblegum. Like, you don't have the right players to get you to the top. Here are the top 5 power plays in the NHL right now.
So can we do since the start of last year? I think because it's a better sample size, I think it might even give you a better example. Sure. Tampa, not to step on you, sorry, Alex.
I'll let you finish.
The Tampa Bay Lightning are number 1 on the power play unit since the start of last year.
So let's break this one down. Shot, Stamkos. Kucherov, bumper. Point, centerman. Net front presence, pick your poison. Captain of the power play, Victor Hedman.
Yeah, I can see why that's pretty good.
Carolina Hurricanes, number 2.
Jake Gensel, Marty Necas, Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov. Again, everything.
New York Rangers, number 3.
Chris Kreider, the best net front presence in the National Hockey League. Zibanejad, Panarin, and you've got whomever you want on that top
Colorado, number 4.
No surprise.
Once again, one-timer, centerman, net front presence,
Edmonton
defenseman.
5, Florida 6, New Jersey 7. It's not hard to figure this stuff out, guys. Like, you don't have to be the greatest coach in the NHL to figure out what exactly is making these teams so successful on the power play. They have skill. The Blues right now, look at them at 5-on-5. The same issues that they have on 5-on-5 are translating to the issues and become magnified on the power play. At 5-on-4, they're trying to do the things that they're just not as good at. At 5-on-5, they're pretty darn good at trying, at times, the way that they win. They got to put the puck on net and hope it goes off somebody's ass.
Yep.
That's the goal right now. Like that, get it off of somebody's skate. Like the gritty goals, all of that stuff is what you need for this team. On the power play, that's still what they need, but it's not the easiest way to go about it. It's what T-Bone said earlier today about getting into within the 5-yard line, right? In the NFL, when you're in that lower red zone, 5 yards and in, things become really constricted. And so that's when having a guy like Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterbacks in the league, becomes even more valuable because you have less space to work with. And so schematically, there are less things that you can do. You can't carry that safety 20 yards down the field any longer. There's nobody to follow because you run out of space. Everything becomes more constricted, so it becomes about the talent at that point in time. That's what the Blues currently lack. All right, Alex, you ready?
Let's do this. Oh, my God.
Time for punishment.
I have been waiting for this so long.
3 more eggs going on BK's head here. And I know Alex has been a little too excited for this punishment here today. Giddy would be the word. We got 6 eggs. If you want to watch this on YouTube, go to youtube.com, search 101 ESPN STL. Oh, don't bring these close to me. These things stink. So we've got 6 eggs left. Alex is going to go with 3 here. The funny thing is 5 of these are not hard-boiled. Only one is hard-boiled that remains. Let's see if I can get an action shot with this here, too, as a photo. What, did you shake that one? Do you feel like that one's going to crack over the head here?
I must punish you.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go. That one splattered. Oh, that one went everywhere. I might be in the splash zone right here. Oh, this is not comfortable. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, another one. All right. Oh, disgusting.
You're always right, Jay. You're always right with your opinions.
3, 2, 1, go. There's the last hard-boiled one. That means that the final 3 no, they're not hard-boiled. They're all raw. Yeah, those ones got some distance. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hit the NFL weekend look ahead here on 101 ESPN.
Grant Francis here with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. After Jordan Kyrou tied the game in the third period last night against the Utah Hockey Club, he coughed up the puck, and it ended up turning into the game-winning goal just 3 minutes later from Dylan Gunther of the Utah Hockey Club as they defeat the Blues by a final of 4-2. Blues fall to 7-7 on the season, now 0-3 against Central Division opponents this season. They'll look to jump back up above 500 tomorrow as they welcome in the Washington Capitals and conclude this 4-game homestand. Pregame will be at 5 o'clock, puck drop at 6 here on your home for the Blues, 101 ESPN. And then on Sunday, we'll have an NFL football Sunday for you. Commanders and Steelers will get us going with pregame starting at 11, then Cardinals and Jets at 3:25, and Texans and Lions with Sunday Night Football at 7:20. I'm Grant Francis. The Sports Center update's been driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
All right, let's go through our weekend look ahead for the NFL, the matchup we're most looking forward to, the upset you believe that we'll see, the overreaction Monday game, all of that coming your way in an NFL quick hitter style thing because we went a little long in the last couple of segments. Alex, what's the matchup you're most looking forward to here?
I think this one's easy. It's Texans-Lions. And I know I bet against the Lions. I think the Lions are going to win. But I do think you're seeing two teams that could be a Super Bowl matchup if the Texans get their ish together. But really, I think what makes it more exciting is if Nico Collins plays. If he doesn't, still going to be, in my opinion, the best game of the weekend.
To differ from that, Steelers Commanders. I hate watching the Steelers play offense, but their defense is fun to watch, and I'm curious to see how Jane Daniels reacts when he goes up against a legitimate defense.
I had 3 options. Those are 2 of them. My third is the 49ers versus the Buccaneers. I think the Bucs are just a fun team to watch this year. Baker Mayfield is playing some really good football. Liam Cohen is a name that NFL fans should be paying attention to. I think he's going to be a future NFL head coach. He's a really good offensive mind. He made Spags look bad at times last week. That's rare, man. You don't see many coaches out-coach Steve Spagnuolo in an individual game. So 49ers Bucs, potential return for Christian McCaffrey in this game as well. Let's see what the 49ers look like with him in there. They've had real issues in the red zone. He can solve some of them. Alex, what's your upset pick this week?
Boy, are we going the limits of 3 or more, or are we going tighter in this?
You do whatever you want, man.
Pick a favorite.
Pick a favorite. You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've got the Patriots over the Bears.
Ooh.
I don't know how much I believe in it, but it's a 6-point line. That feels way too big to me. If I had confidence in the Patriots, I would have probably selected it. But, I mean, the Patriots could throw 2 pick sixes in this game and think.
Once again, having a little bit of technical difficulties out at the Centene Community Ice Center. We will try to get back out to BK and Ferrario momentarily here as we are in our NFL weekend look ahead. And yeah, the one game that I think I'm going to be watching for is that Steelers and Commanders game. If you look at the standings, and I don't think really anybody expected this coming into the season, but now with the Ravens winning last night on Thursday Night Football, as I pull up the AFC North standings here, they're 7-3. So if the Steelers are able to win that game against the Commanders, they'll be 7-2. They'll still be atop the AFC North because they don't have that third loss. So that's really interesting looking at the Steelers this season, and really nobody predicting them to be a playoff team. They look like a lock at this point in the NFL. Go through some of the other games here. Giants and Panthers on Sunday. That game starting at 8:30. We got the Broncos and Chiefs, an AFC West showdown there. And we've got Eagles and Cowboys coming up as well. Jets and Cardinals, Vikings and Jaguars as the Vikings look to improve to 7-2. Falcons and Saints. We got the 49ers and Buccaneers as well. Bills and Colts. And again, Monday Night Football is going to be Dolphins and Rams. So we got some good matchups in the NFL coming up this week. We're going to take a quick break here, try to get reconnected over at the Centene Community Ice Center, and we will hit the BK and Ferrario Rewind next here on 101 ESPN.
The St. Louis Blues are back on ESPN.
I think he might be now sitting at the break. I don't know.
Let's run it back with a daily rewind on BK and Ferrario. Brought to you by Gloria Loom, your home sold guaranteed realty. Selling your home begins at GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
We dropped in the last segment, but I bet you that was the best segment of radio that we've done all day long as Grant Francis filled some time for us. We apologize for the technical difficulties. Grant Francis doing a fantastic job back in the studio for us. We are broadcasting live at the E&B Granite Studios out of the Centene Community Ice Center, and if you've missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page. It's all presented by
Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers.
You can also check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/101ESPN STL. I have 3 more eggs that will be smashed over my head before the end of the show today. So if you would like to see that, again, you can check it out on YouTube, youtube.com/101ESPN STL. Excited to get home and wash all of this off of my body because I'm driving to Kansas City.
T-Bone and I decided part of the punishment is you have to let it sit for 24 hours.
See, BK gets on my nerves. I wouldn't do that to Kara.
Come on,
that's touche.
I wouldn't do that to Kara and Luca.
That's BK, if it was just him, I'd do that any day of the week.
All right, finishing out today's show.
An egg in there.
Let's start with the biggest topic in St. Louis today, and that's what happened in the game last night. Jordan Kyrou give, Jordan Kyrou take away. Jordan Kyrou's give for the Blues last night was a fantastic shot on a play that he and Pavel Buchnevich were able to create. One-timer, boom, right in the back of the net. That's exactly what you needed in that moment, ties the game. Unfortunately, a few minutes later, Jordan Kyrou's trying to make another play on his next shift, and instead of making a play, he creates a turnover that ends up in his own net. Can't have it, Alex. He said after the game, hey, listen, I've got to be more direct. I've got to get that puck deep. It's something that I've got to be better at. He did do the exact same thing a week ago.
Yeah.
So it's something that you got to start seeing the results, but I will continue to be somebody that comes to the defense of Jordan Kyrou, not for that play, but for what we have seen over the greater picture of the season. I think he's been a lot better with this team overall game, and I do think we are seeing some maturation with his game. It's just a bad moment last night.
Yeah, he has been significantly better than any point of his career in terms of the team game, and I think that's why it's glaring to people, and because both games have resulted in losses. That Philadelphia, you deserved to win. Last night you didn't deserve to win, but you needed a point. It's just game management, and it's just one of those things, as Steve Ott said, you have to just continue hammering home until he figures it out. At some point in Jordan Kyrou's career, and it has happened at times this season, but at one point in Jordan Kyrou's career, you're going to see a similar play where it's a tie hockey game with little time on the clock, and he says, nope, not the time to try and dangle a player. I'm just going to go make the easier play. It'll happen. It's frustrating, but for right now, you just can't make that play.
All right, T-Bone, on the Cardinal side of things, we got our first definitive update on the Cardinals yesterday from Derek Gould. He said, quote, in the coming weeks, the Cardinals will canvass other clubs to measure the interest in some of their higher salary players. That will include Nolan Arenado, Miles Michaelis, and Steven Matz. The Cardinals expect to receive more overtures for Helsley, though one source said the Cardinals are inclined to keep Helsley unless they are overwhelmed with the offer, end quote. T-Bone, this sounds like the offseason that all of us wanted the Cardinals to have. Hey, look at what there is out there for Arenado, Michaelis, Matz. If you can, throw some money in there to get a better return or to make it easier for another team to take them on. See what's out there for Helsley, but don't just sell him for nothing. Get the best return possible, and if you can't get that right now, it's okay to wait until the deadline to be able to get that return. What do you make of what was reported yesterday by Derek Gould?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, and you're right. It is kind of the smart decision. See if you can move on from those guys and try and do that without eating a ton of money. You know, it's okay. It sounds like they're good with where they're at right now, so maybe you can eat a couple $1 million for any one of those deals. And look, the Helsley one, there's 4 closers on the market now, guys. There's Helsley, Duvall of San Francisco. There's the guy in Houston. Why am I drawing a blank? Presley, that's on the market. And then Devin Williams probably on the market. There's 4 closers on the market. So chances are it's going to be tough to get a great return in this deal from Ryan Helsley, especially since there's other options. The fear I have is waiting until the deadline because you got to get through a healthy season. But if you're out of it, then you can sell him. Or if they wanted to, maybe they could get him a contract extension. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't pay a closer. But I think they're playing this smart.
Big game for Mizzou tomorrow. Mizzou versus Oklahoma in Columbia. This was supposed to be the game of the year. It would determine the upside for both teams. Instead, it's going to determine the downside. Oklahoma might not make a bowl game this year if they lose in this one. They've got 5 wins. It's Mizzou and then LSU and Alabama. Not an easy way to finish your schedule if you're Oklahoma. It's 6:45 tomorrow night. Oklahoma, 2.5-point favorite. I expect Drew Pine to be the starting quarterback for Mizzou in this one. I like Oklahoma, unfortunately, to win that one. I would love nothing more than to be wrong. That is one of my picks. You can check out all of our picks on the podcast page today. 101ESPN.com and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. Alex, you ready for my last punishment?
Let's do it, sir. See if I can
3 more raw eggs
bleed on this one
for BK. And if you want to watch this on YouTube, go to youtube.com, 101 ESPN STL. Final 3 eggs to serve out the second month of the punishments here on BK and Ferrario for our Pick'em Challenge. Raw is the law. Here we go. For the eggs. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, I got splattered on that one. Oh, that sounded like it hurt too. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, yeah. Oh, that one's really sticking on there still. One more egg to go to serve out the punishment. 3, 2, 1, go. Nice. That is everywhere on BK right now. Alex, you're going to throw your headset on. Let's get a post-game interview here. What'd he say? Oh, that looks disgusting. Multiple eggs on here. That feel good? Get that, slam some eggs on it?
I felt like I didn't have my best stuff the first time out, but the second time around, I felt like my fastball was there. The whoa bacon was high for BK. There's an eggshell in his ear. Ladies and gentlemen, this felt wonderful.
And if you miss it on YouTube as well, you can go check out Zack Bolduc, the St. Louis Blues forward, joined the show and then slammed a couple of eggs onto BK's head to help us serve his punishment. BK, also, what are your thoughts on the punishment?
I'm going to try to be better at pickups.
Well,
cool.
He's off to a bad start as he's currently in last place in the Pick'em Challenge.
Bye, everyone.